The United States Professional Tennis Association, the director of certification and testing, and he's in many ways the mentor to so many of our friends who do testing, who are USPTA guys and tennis professionals throughout this great land. So I can't wait to get into three sets with Sid. Sid, how are you this evening?
Man, I'm doing great. It's so cool to be on your show, on your at that post, baby.
Love it, man. Love it. We get to do three sets. Craig Bell's going to join us. He is at the moment handling our live producing. He's going to tell you that our producers are doing all the work, and they really set everything up. But just kudos to Craig Bell next to me for not just co-hosting tonight, but also producing.
Yep.
He's so technologically savvy, this guy.
Not to hold that thought still. So I'm still trying to hopefully get us on here. I think we're live, but I don't know for sure. So That's what I'm trying to look at. It says we're live, and I want to make sure that I'm checking a couple of things here just to make sure that we are live. So.
We're rolling. Let's get right into it. Craig Bell with a 2-minute intro.
Okay.
We got to do a little music too. Sid is not just a musician, a writer of music, and there are no lyrics to this, so maybe Sid will put some lyrics on it. The name of the song is Semi-Western. It's by an old college teammate of mine, James Campbell. Let's get it started.
All right, here we go. James Scott Campbell.
Friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through three sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right, thanks to our At the Net podcast girl for that. What's the word of the night? It's got to be beautiful.
Oh, my gosh.
Introduction. Well, in honor of Sid Newcomb, those of you who know Sid will recognize the word of the night. And welcome, fans, to the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 119 of At the Net podcast with AJ Chabria, right?
That's me. And next to me, as always, Craig Bell, the great Craig Bell of Tex-Mex Productions.
And tonight, we're talking the great game of tennis.
As it seems to us.
Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That won't be one, Darian D. Mac McBrayer, and we did have a brain sighting from the Riverwalk.
That's right.
All the way down in San Antonio, the Alamo City. He was having a dinner, I think a steak down at Ruth's Chris. Product placement there for Ruth's Chris, but if you're ever down there. So pretty good steakhouse down in the Riverwalk, San Antonio area. So we did have a brain sighting, and I'm actually on the soundboard tonight moving the dials and buttons, and as the great John Jandel says, we don't have enough money for holograms, right?
Not yet, at least.
Now we're live, but and not on Memorex, right? So also be sure to like us and follow us on Facebook right here, YouTube and Instagram. Plus check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I did it again,
Well done.
All of them. That's all the important communication sites the kids find popular, right?
You know it.
Right? All of them. And if you'd like to be like the great Margot Carter, no, it's not the great. What's the beautiful Margot Carter? And like to read the opening intro, hit AJ up and send him a little demo tape, and we might consider, but she's going to be pretty hard to knock off the pedestal. She's been doing quite a few episodes for us. So, but we like foreign languages, and so hit AJ up, and he'll kind of think about it, maybe, right?
I'll review a demo tape. So hit me on email or Instagram or Facebook, whatever.
Well, speaking of beautiful guests this evening, our guest is certainly a master of beautiful, and that would be Sid, the Kid Newcomb. Sid, welcome to the At the Net podcast. It's a real honor and a privilege, to have you on the broadcast, because I've been looking forward to this day for several months now. We booked you back a couple of months ago, and I know that you were flying around all over the country and got in. You said at 2 a.m, and he got up just to do the podcast. He could have slept. He could have slept in, but 2 a.m. to, let's see, that's about 8. And let's see. So he might have had enough sleep. You think?
I think he had a good day. Sid, what is the typical day like for a guy who does director of certification? You're the boss of all the testers, man.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I have multiple different typical days. If I'm in the office, I'm doing a lot of admin work, reaching out, talking to people on the phone, answering emails. I do a lot of grading of videos, because in our certification pathway, people send videos in, which is part of the new pathway. And then it's totally different when I'm on the road, because I'm conducting live, 3-day workshops with 7 to 12 new applicants going through certification. So I'm on the court. That's what I love to do. That's where my sweet spot is. And the admin part is, it's part of the job. I won't say I hate it, but I won't say I love it.
That's so funny. Sid, let's get into the first set. I want to get your background. Tell us how you got started in the great game of tennis.
Oh, wow. So I was 10 years old, and my dad was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force. And he got, when you're a military kid, you move around, at least back then, every 3 years, your dad or mom would get a new assignment. So my dad was moved to Santiago, Chile. And I was 10 years old. I moved there, and to my dismay, there was no football or basketball or baseball. And I was just a sporty little kid, and I started playing tennis and soccer and rugby.
Yeah.
Because that's the 3 things I had in my school. And I learned tennis on the red clay and Príncipe de Gales. It's a beautiful, I look back and I want to go back. I've never been back to Chile since I just lived there from 10 to 13. So that's why I started tennis, because my parents joined the club. They played recreationally, and I started playing, I loved it right away. It's like, okay, this is the sport I get to play here.
Awesome. And then when you were 13, you were a fairly accomplished clay court player. Did you move back here to the States?
Yeah. So we moved back. My dad's first assignment was in Holloman Air Force Base, which is Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Yeah.
So I was in the Southwest Division. It was my first competing in USTA tournaments, and all the big tournaments are in El Paso. So not too far from you all. And I drive an hour and a half from Alamogordo to El Paso for all the big tournaments. And I, started playing all the, then the rest of my life as a kid, I lived in the U.S. So where I lived, I played tennis in whatever USTA section I was in then.
Oh, that's great. So you went from red clay in a coastal area in Chile to not coastal and white sands. Yeah. Alamogordo is right near White Sands, right?
I know. White Sands was all our, everybody that come visit. So we go to White Sands for a picnic. Also, if you don't know that, if you're on this, you're watching the at the net post, White Sands is a really cool park. I mean, it's amazing. When they say White Sands, it's like white as snow. I mean, they actually films, like snowboarding and stuff, because it's and their dunes are huge. You know? So we'd go there all the time. It's like 20 minutes from our house, literally White Sands, but it's hot as blazes. Oh,
I was going to say, you feel like it's snowing, but it's 98 degrees.
Oh, it's hot. It's hot.
It's windy and hot and dry, right?
Yeah. I guess you've been there, because it's a weird place, right in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's all these white sand dunes, and I mean white.
Hey, tell us how that shaped you as not a tennis coach, but as a tennis player, to go from red clay to hot, windy, hard courts up here in the States, in New Mexico and Texas.
Yeah. Interesting question. I've never, on red clay, I was a member of a club, because when you're a middle-class American Air Force kid in a third world country back then, I'm old, so this was back in late 70s. So we were, the wealth, we joined a country club so we could play tennis. So I had coaching, and I was in a program. And then at White Sands, or in Alamogordo, I was just a kid at the Air Force Base, had very little structured tennis. So I remember having a tennis journal, and I would log in the hours I'd hit on the wall, because I still compete. My parents would drive me to El Paso and play the tournaments. I was in the 12s then. And I don't know how the difference is. I just know I didn't have a lot of coaching when I was in Alamogordo. Yeah, but I did play in high school in New Mexico. So when I turned 8th grade, you could play varsity sports in New Mexico. It's a weird rule. I don't know if it's still like that. So I played on the varsity team as an 8th grader. I played number 2 singles. So I did have at least some structure at the Alamogordo High School, which is 20 minutes from the Air Force Base.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're about Fred Viancos' age, this COO of the USPTA. Did you know him back in Chile when he grew up there as a little kid?
I did not know him.
No.
I did not know him. Well, funny story. I met Fred at the what's that tournament in San Jose?
Oh, Sybase Open or San Jose?
It was called the Sybase and then the SAP.
That's right.
He worked on the tour. So this is before he's been at the USPTA like 20 years. So he worked on the tour, and it was a late night match, and I was in charge of the ball kids because they were from my club. I was a tennis director there, and we met in the stands. There was like 100 people there, or maybe 50 people, and I just happened to be sitting next to him. And I remember that meeting, and that's the first time we met. But I had no idea he was from Chile, and no idea that he was going to be my boss at the USPTA. And so we have a lot of twisting roads, but we've come in contact quite a few times at different points in our lives.
Amazing journey. Hey, from age 10 to 13 in Chile, then up here in the States, how did you get so good? And tell us about college and a little bit of pro tennis that you got to play.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say so good. I guess it's all relative, right? So I'm so good to compare to a lot of people, but I was not so good. So I just kept playing. And then, let's see, I moved in 10th grade to Michigan. And in Michigan, my dad took a job as the Air Force ROTC director at Michigan State. Now, obviously, that area, East Lansing, was much more developed in tennis. And so I actually played at a club at East Lansing Racket Club and Okemos Racket Club. And the owner was Rick Furman. And the top player was Todd Martin, who lived about 10 blocks from me. So we would carpool, and he was 2 years younger than me. And so we'd practice, we were in the same groups, and he was always the best player. But I will say I kicked his ass a few times in practice, only because I was bigger and stronger, and he was a spindly little kid.
He was skinny before he got tall and strong. Yeah.
But even back then, that boy he was such a clean ball striker. I don't think he ever mishit a ball. And I mishit every 4th ball. He hit every ball right in the middle. So through that, I played, in the sectionals and developed. I was decent enough to. When my parents moved to Panama, so I graduated high school in Michigan. They moved to Panama. I was like, well, I got to go to college. So I went to Michigan State because I was familiar with it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a scholarship, but I walked onto the team with Stan Droback. And I got to play with a lot of good players, but I didn't play in the lineup. I traveled, and I played third doubles probably 4 times my freshman year, and no scholarship. But I was a fish out of water.
Really?
I did not enjoy the experience, to be honest with you. But I enjoyed it. I really helped my tennis. And the reason I didn't enjoy it is because I graduated from high school, a very small Christian, 47 students in my private high school. And I went to Michigan State. My first class was algebra. Now they teach algebra in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
So it was algebra. I had 700 students in the auditorium and a professor way down at the bottom, with the writing on a screen. I was freaking lost. And then I'd go on the road with these guys, and all they want to do is party and meet girls. And I was like staying in my hotel all by myself. I had no idea what was going on.
That's crazy.
I know. So, things have changed since then, obviously. But back then, that first year was rough. So I actually looked to move to a smaller, it's like, my parents were in Panama. They helped me find a school that offers scholarships in tennis. It was a small Christian liberal arts school in Arkansas. And so I transferred right after my freshman year, and I had a great time. It was called John Brown University, and it was good at tennis. We traveled a lot, and so it had the best of both for me. And it also had enough people, so I kind of pulled me out of that little bitty, thing into something bigger. But it wasn't Michigan State, that's for sure, which at that time was the biggest university in the entire country.
That would be the Golden Eagles too.
The Golden Eagles, Craig Bell is always.
How'd you know that? That's why you're in charge of everything, CB, the Golden Eagles. That's the Ivy League of the small Christian colleges.
Oh, we know things, Sid.
The Harvard of Arkansas.
Right.
That's right.
The Harvard of Shilom Springs.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's right. You are on it.
Man,
Craig Bell knows every mascot of every school.
Almost.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great.
Unbelievable. Golden Eagles.
Actually, I've been through Shilom Springs.
You know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was in junior college, we went over. I don't think we ever played you all. I went to Seminole Junior College in Oscar Rose, and we would come over into Arkansas occasionally and play some schools over there and in Hot Springs.
Yeah.
But I remember traveling through that nice little community. That it was really pretty. I mean, I love Arkansas.
Beautiful.
I think it's
beautiful. It's Northwest Arkansas. Uh-huh. It's hilly, and I was just there last summer. My daughter went there for a training camp. She's in high school, and she's been going to play soccer in college. She went there to look at it. She's like, "Dad, this is way too small for me." But I was like, "Look how beautiful it is."
Oh, you just know. You got to see.
Oh wait,
beautiful. Yeah,
word of the day.
Word of the day. I mean, gosh, Sid, you got to throw that in there.
I missed an opportunity to use it there.
So let me ask you: is it Siloam or Shilom? Is it the kind of an
Siloam?
Siloam.
But I think it actually based on the Jewish word of shalom. It means peace.
Yep.
And I think it is based on sort of the shalom peace.
Right.
Because they always there's allusions, or at least what I know is Siloam means like the peaceful springs. So I think I haven't looked at the anatomy of that word or anything, but I think it's based on shalom. So you go ahead and call it shalom, and then I'm thinking you're cool.
Right. So either word, either way. So I didn't want to mispronounce it because I've been through Shalom. Yeah. But I think there's a Shilom Springs. Is it like Tennessee? There was a Civil War battle, at Shilom Springs. I think it was SH, more of an SH instead of an Siloam Springs. So interesting that I've been through. I don't remember traveling past the campus, but I do remember going through the town at one point. So kind of cool that I've been to his alma mater's hometown. I don't think we passed that, but it was a beautiful area. Beautiful.
Oh my goodness! You got to say it the first time. It's weird how that word's come about. So I'll just stay away from it while we're on the phone.
No, it's great. It's very convivial. See, we also have a word convivial. That's our word, or actually my word.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so it's like I own convivial.
That's a $10 word.
Well, you own beautiful. I own convivial. So
that's right.
Convivial.
Well, Sid, tell us about after college, after John Brown University. What'd you do, and what kind of tennis did you play? I'm assuming like early '90s, you were out there playing some satellites.
That's what happened. So I actually progressed. A lot of college players don't progress, but because I hadn't had a ton of coaching, I told you I had some in Chile, and then some in Michigan. And then, so I was still progressing. So I got better through my college years just from playing matches and practicing. And so I went, I didn't have a job. I didn't know what to do. So I went and played what you had to do back then. So I graduated in 89. So that summer, you had to find open qualifiers so that you could show up and play in the qualifying. And then you play, if you qualify, and then had these segments. So I was good enough to play. You had to play 3 segments and then the Masters to even get a point. So I never even got an ATP point. I was close a few times, but I definitely lost more than I won. But it was fun. I mean, I'm telling you, I went to, it was called USA 1, USA 2.
Yeah,
USA
segment 1, 2. 1 in Florida, 2 up in Alabama, Georgia.
And I would just hook up with whoever I could hook up and scrape together. And I mean, it's kind of like now you can't make money at it. So you got to, and I don't know how they do it now, but I would talk to the tennis directors. Hey, anybody, you got a member I can put me up for the few days? Because you lose and then you have a whole week to kill. And you want to practice, but you don't have enough money to stay somewhere. And so, so it was cool. It didn't last too long, but long enough to play a lot of good players and actually beat a couple players that probably I should never have beat.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Great. I think you're a year or two older than me, but I definitely remember your name from something on Hard True, possibly Edelman Classic in Alabama. Did you play this?
Oh, yeah. I played at Alabama.
Yeah.
I played at, where I met Nick Balteri was Lakeway World of Tennis.
Oh, tell us about this, meeting the legend.
I was on the segment, the Middle America segment. So after Texas, I think we went to St. Louis.
Yeah, Missouri, segment 4, I believe they call it.
Yeah, something like that. But I don't remember. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that was the pivotal thing because I'd already been doing it for a while, and it was, it's kind of, it was always fun. But after a while, it got a little tough. I didn't have $2 to rub together. I did have a car my dad and mom gave me. They were still living in Panama. So I had a Plymouth Horizon. It had 3 cylinders, and they'd had it, and we'd had it as a kid in Michigan where I graduated from high school, and it passed to one of my sisters, and she passed to me. And in Michigan, they salt the roads in the winter to keep the ice off. So on the passenger side, the rust under my Plymouth Horizon had literally rusted out an entire, it was a hole. Like a Flintstones, you stick your feet through it and run. So I had a piece of plywood on the hole, right? And I used to chew tobacco back then. I wasn't an idiot. I was such an idiot back then. So I'd be going down the highway, and I'd just kick the piece of plywood to the side. I have a hole on the highway. I could spit right onto the highway with tobacco. But anyways, I was in Lakeway World Tennis. I had my little Plymouth Horizon. I lost, and Nick was there. And I think he was with David Wheaton. I always forget. It was one of those young guys. They were probably 10 years younger than me or something. And, of course, his guy was winning. So I got to hit with him. He's like, hey, be my sparring guy, because I'm just sitting there waiting for 5 days to drive to St. Louis, I think was next. And he's like, okay, if you ever done playing, when you're done playing, you could coach at my academy in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And that's where it's happened. And literally, instead of going to St. Louis, I called the academy from a payphone. And I was like, hey, Nick said I could have a job. And they're like, who are you? What are you talking about? Yeah. And Nick had not even gone to the next segment. He'd gone to the French Open because this was in the middle, it was at this time of year.
Like May, early May,
yeah. That's right. This is exactly segment 4 was this time of year. So he's like, well, he's in Paris. I'm like, no, I promise you. He told me I could have it. So I had to wiggle my way on the phone, They're like, okay, well, just come on, get here. So I took my car, drove to Bradenton, Florida. It wasn't even IMG back then.
Yeah.
And, that's when I started coaching that summer.
Tremendous.
Unbelievable, huh?
Sid, who did you coach alongside, and who were some of the players? I assume like Tommy Haas was there about that time.
He was there,
probably
absolutely.
Fritz Now, some of those guys.
Yeah. So Fritz Now and Jose Lambert, they were the 3 of us. I love golf, and I was a pretty decent golfer because my grandpa taught me. And Fritz loves golf. And so the 3 of us would golf every chance we get.
Really?
And sometimes we would golf with Nick and Agassi like golf and Sampras like golf. And so I've golfed with all those guys.
Yeah.
Probably 20, 30 times. And here's the thing. This is not the question you asked.
No, of course.
I totally regret all those times. I was one of those guys like, look, I'm never going to ask these guys for an autograph or a picture. And they respected that. They're like, I was just their golfing guy, And Pete and I shot baskets together at the academy. He liked basketball. I like basketball. And freaking A, I never got a picture of golfing with those guys. I totally regret it. I could have him up on my office wall and all that.
Definitely.
Such an idiot. I was maybe it's my pride, I was like, I'm just being cool, but I was like, I don't know. But anyway, so Tommy Haas was there. Yeah. I traveled one summer with Anna Kournikova. Nick sent me to Belgium and to Germany, all that whole ITF thing in Europe with her and her mom, Alla. That was a great experience. And I thought Anna was going to be the best player in the world of history. She was either 12 or 13 when I traveled with her to ITF. So she's playing in the 18s, and she's hitting kick serves and serving and volleying, stuff I'd never seen any young lady do. And so I thought, oh, man, she's going to be the best player to ever live. And it didn't turn out that way, but probably because I coached her that summer. I don't know.
Well,
maybe it's my fault.
I think she got sidetracked, after because she was, as the word of the night, beautiful. And
he was smoking beautiful. Her mom was pretty beautiful too.
Allah is a cute mom.
Yeah, you know her too.
How do you know her? Have you seen pictures of her? Do you know her?
She and I are about the same age, and I did hang around in Florida down there a little bit.
Oh,
so I do remember the.
Were you the guy over there in the weeds over there, or in the bushes? Was that AJ?
AJ was stalking Olive.
I was on the court. I was on the tennis court.
On the court feeding balls, and Olive was just walking around.
I thought you might have been in the Flutonias over there, kind of.
Funny. So that's an amazing background to go from player to suddenly coaching at the best academy in the world. How did that prep you for prepping testers or becoming a tester?
Okay, so just clarification, I was never a very good player, and I didn't know what I was doing when I started coaching at ball cherries, but I learned like most of us, we didn't have education like we do now.
Yeah.
I mean, we just learned from each other, right? We learned from watching people. I learned a ton from being on Nick's court. I learned from hitting while he was coaching, and he had an unbelievable eye. I don't care what people say about Nick in terms of coaching, but I've never seen anybody that could see something and work on it that quickly. So he was gifted. As a non-player, right? He's not, most of the pro players now pick up former pro players to be coaches, but he of course didn't have any of that background. But so what was the question again? How did coaching? Okay. So
how did that prep you to become a tester of other coaches?
Yeah. All right. So as the career progressed, I went with Bollettieri. That was when he was super famous, and he started as a business deal to try to make money. He started opening academies in Europe, and this is probably not too many people know about this because it's a very short stint. So, and I was the guy because I spoke Spanish fluently, and I had some international experience because of my Air Force background and my dad. So he's like, okay, you're going to go do these things. So I went from Bollettieri, Florida, and then I spent a year in Philadelphia, and then a summer and then he sent me to Paris. We opened the Bollettieri Lebu Tennis Academy, and these people were paying a ton of money just to use his name, but it didn't work because the margins are so thin in the business. The academy didn't work, because they flew me out there. And they were using his name, and he came out twice for the opening ceremonies, but it was, and then, so I was there for about 9 months, and then that business was failing. So then I went to Charleroi, Belgium to do the Bollettieri Belgium Tennis Academy. And I was, and the academies were doing great. People were coming to them and all that stuff, but they couldn't afford to pay the fees to Bollettieri. I mean, I don't want to get into that and throw it on the bus, poor guys, but he was making money off these people, and they couldn't make the ends meet. So then I went to the Bollettieri Lloyd Tennis Academy in London. Yeah,
Lloyd, David Lloyd, right? John and David.
Lloyd, yeah. And I was the director of that academy, and that was going like gangbusters, but then they couldn't make, things. So that whole period, I was about probably 6 years in Europe, give or take, opening up his academies, Bollettieri academies, and none of them lasted, which is a shame because the concept was great. And Europe at that time could have used it, and they've since duplicated it. I mean, Bollettieri was a pioneer about boarding, full-time tennis, education, interwoven, all that kind of stuff. And all the European academies were way after that. All the French academies and Spanish academies, they learned it from reproducing with Bollettieri. And we tried to do that ourselves, but the countries just couldn't afford paying Bollettieri's fees and operating the business, no matter how much you charge kids that came. So I spent about 6 years there, and along the way I got married and had a kid. My first kid was born in outside of London at David Lloyd. We lived in Watford, England. And I was traveling a ton. And to be honest, I was like, man, this is rough. So I need to get a job in the U.S. where I don't have at a club where I don't have to travel, 40 weeks a year. How can I be a dad? I chose to be a dad. It was a great decision. So I ended up at a club in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
where
Northern Cal.
School. Yeah. and had a great, that was our whole life. 20 years we spent at the same club. I raised all my kids there.
Wow.
And along the way, I was certified as USPTA. And then I volunteered at conferences. And then the person who certified me had always said, hey, you should do this. You should develop coaches. And so when I had more time, at the beginning of your career, you don't have any time. Kids in diapers, every $60 an hour lesson was meaningful back then, And so I was grinding it out. I was like, okay, I'll get to it. So eventually I volunteered so about 10 years, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was a tester in NorCal. Mm-hmm. So the way the USPTA does certification is they divvied up into the divisions. And I was I was helping out in NorCal, and they pay you a little bit, but it's only like 6 times a year, 2 days. So like 12 days a year. And then the USPTA said, as happens, certification was kind of going in different directions around the country. They said, we need the board of directors in and said, we need to hire someone to oversee the whole country and bring it under some sort of umbrella.
Yeah.
So at that time, the USPTA's headquarters in Houston, and I was like, well, I like doing this coach developing, and my parents are in Austin, and my whole family, my 3 sisters and their families are all in Houston, Austin area. It's like, I should be a part of my parents' lives as they get older. And they're like, late 70s.
Yeah, and your kids too. That way they get to be with the grandkids.
Yeah. So I threw my name in the hat, and this process took forever.
Really?
I didn't hear anything, to be honest with you. And like 6 months later, hey, you still interested? We have your application. We whittled you down to 50 applicants. You have to have spread. I have no idea how it all went. Yeah. But it was a long. And then finally they said, hey, you're in the final pool of, I don't know, 5 or however many people. But we're going to interview you in person for this national, position, but by the way, we're moving to Florida. Yeah. I was like, well, the whole reason I applied for the job is because it's in Texas. But at this point, the ship has sailed. I was like, well, if God wants me to go with this, I'm all in. I'll just go through the process. Yeah. That's how that happened. Yeah, I was out of so the reason I applied for the position was because I thought I like doing coach development is what we call it, working with young coaches and education and all that. I really like that. And then 2, I thought geographically, if I ever moved from this beautiful spot and, CB, I missed it again. This beautiful spot in NorCal, if I ever moved from there anywhere, I should move to Texas so I could be a part of my kind of the last chapters of my parents' life. But then it was in Florida. So. Yeah. So now I'm here. I've been here for like 5 years.
Yeah. Hey, I sometimes I like to get you had such a good origin story from Chile here to the States. Give us who certified you? Who was the guy testing you up in NorCal? Was it either Kelly Cooper or George Basho?
It was not. Oh, but it's close. It's very close to one of those kind of iconic persons. It was Don Henson.
Oh, yes.
So Don Henson was a San Diego guy. And then he worked as a tester for the USPTA for years, probably 20 plus years. And in fact, he took over San Diego as their head tester, SoCal as their head tester, and NorCal. So he was the whole state of California. He was in charge. He had other people, and he tested me in Southern California. Mm-hmm. And the reason I became certified, because when I came from Bolletari's off of that sort of tour life for all the junior ITF, I settled at a club in Northern California. And they said, hey, you need to be USPTA certified. So good for that club, right? We love those kind of clubs.
That's important.
So, absolutely. So I said, okay. So I flew from San Francisco to Industry Hills, California, Pam Austin's club at the time. And just to do this 3-day, it was a 2-day certification back in those days. And I met Don Henson, and I had such a great experience. And I realized I didn't know jack about teaching tennis. I mean, I knew some tactics, I knew some high performance stuff, but I didn't know how to teach kids or adults or, middle-aged women. I don't know. And I thought I did. I thought, how hard could it be? Yeah. And I was really impressed that I didn't know anything. I was humbling. And this guy was so cool. He knows so much about tennis, about coaching and teaching and all the stuff I didn't know about. and he since passed away, like I think 2 years ago. But he was part of my life the whole time, and I met him on that 2-day weekend. And we stayed in. If I had one tennis mentor, if they said you could only pick one, I'd pick Don Henson.
Wow.
And he was the guy and I met him on that weekend.
Tremendous.
And I've had hundreds of mentors, honestly, right? You learn from everywhere. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Don Henson.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he was out in Vegas, I think.
Yeah.
When we were out in Vegas, I remember talking with him. I didn't know him really well. I definitely recognized who he was and what he was all about, because I knew that there were a lot of people standing around him, wanting to say hello to him and talking with him. Yeah, and I think unfortunately he passed away.
Right, that was his last big gig, Craig.
Yeah.
He went to Vegas, and that was in September, and then it was pretty quick from his diagnosis of cancer. He probably died, I think, that February or something. I can't remember the dates, but we were so blessed to see him. Actually doing a gig and speaking. He did two on-court sessions at that Vegas where you saw him, Craig, and good for him to go out that way. All the way to the end, you're still passionate about your sport and teaching people.
Yeah, because I think old school style never goes out of style. To me, old school. Yeah. I know that I'm sure you've seen a lot of different teaching approaches. From Bollettieri to Don Henson to even people who you certify. Probably you've got some good ideas, but I think old school never goes out. Just for some reason, you got to hit a ball, especially if you're with beginners or, we at the country club here, we work with a lot of entry-level, middle-level type players. We're not working with the Rafael Nadal. Rafael, you'd like to come out here, wouldn't you, to Bentry and learn from probably maybe somebody like Sid, wouldn't you?
Well, Craig Bell, it's going to be a pleasure to learn from both of you. You're both masters in the industry. I have won some tournaments, but always learning, always getting better. Well,
now that you have some time off, you have a couple of weeks. You might come over and see Sid sit down in beautiful Orlando. Yeah,
dude, that's such a great impression, AJ. I got CB, you're right, man. I don't think old school goes out. I think here's the thing. Your students at any level, they don't care what your certification is. No, I honestly, I've been teaching tennis as long as you guys, and freaking hey, you guys are old, man.
Wait, he is.
I have never had, and I don't know how many students I've had.
Yeah.
Any student ask me, hey, what level is your certification?
Yeah.
They don't care. They care about how you treat them, how you relate to them, what you can help them with. And that's old school coaching. It's the relationship.
Amen.
It's not the systems and the education, and that's new school, which is good, but none of that stuff matters if you don't have this personal interaction and this care that they say, okay, this coach is in it for me, for helping me reach whatever my goals are, whether I'm a 3-0 overweight lady that just wants to get some exercise, or where my freaking Nadal, my forehead. So old school never goes away, CB. You're the man. You're the man to say that.
Yeah, that's important.
That's just me. That's just an observation. I know some of my pros look at me like, that guy, he can't teach anybody, because I get the foam balls out and we start rallying from the service line, and they're out there, doing other things. I'm kind of like, this. You gotta have a little, be able to do this thing. Yeah, because it's not an easy game.
I'll tell you. So, not this week. I was in Kansas, but last week I was in San Antonio near you guys, and one of the guys that came for certification, there were 7 people. It was super cool, because there was young people, there was different ethnicities and language, and obviously it was both female and male, so all of the diversity that represents the USPTA was there. And one guy, He has been teaching for 30 years in Houston. I won't use his name, I'll protect him. But he was such a good guy, but so old school. He had no idea what we were talking about. All these, the concepts that we use in our pathway of certification. He only had to do it because we have a relationship with Club Corp that says the new guys, they want all their tennis directors to be certified. So good for Club Corp. So he's finally like, okay, I'll go through the process. But when it came time to deliver his group lesson, he did it totally old school. He didn't use any of the new concepts and all these things we've been working on. But the 4 ladies that had volunteered from the club, they loved his lesson more than all the other young pros in there, because there's no substitute for experience and knowing how to meet your students where they're at. That is what certification really should be all about. And it is to an extent, because that's how you get paid is when your students recognize that and they keep coming back. And that's why he's been there for 30 years. So good for him.
Tremendous.
Well,
I've been telling him to watch this. I've been telling him to watch At the Net Post so he'll know who he is, because he's a good guy.
Well, and I'm glad that we're back and certifying again. You know, you're out and about and moving around. I've gotten a couple of pros out of we've hosted twice a year, once in the summer and once towards the early December timeframe here on these courts right here, certification, free lessons. And, you know, a couple of times Tom Ingram and Jack Foster, local Texas guys, would go, hey, this guy's pretty good. And I've taken their advice and I've hired them, believe it or not, based on some, you see talent out there. And I'm sure you've seen, I know Tom, I think he passed over the 2,200 mark of certifications last year, maybe, or he was glad because he passed Kenny Mack, you know, Ken McAllister, who's a legend also too in the Texas area, and certified me actually, and Paul Christian, which they're still ruined that day that they let me through the door. But you know,
Texas has a great history of testers from Ken McAllister and then Tom Ingram and Jack and also Tom's brother John. But Tom is either certified more people in the USPTA, certainly documented, because most testers, myself included, haven't kept records, and Tom has kept meticulous records. If there was a competition and said, okay, who's certified the most and you have to have proof, Tom would definitely win, because he's got it all documented, baby. He's like, all right, Tom's the winner. And there's another guy who's been around forever in San Francisco, you know, that would probably rival him. And Don Henson may have rivaled him too, but he passed away. But definitely Tom is the leader of the pack. And he was been great for the association for many, many years.
Oh yeah. Sure. I mean, in the Texas area, we normally would do, 20, 30 tests a year down in this neighborhood, and Tom and Jack, and then Laura Gilbert, John. We're trying to get some people out in West Texas, because that's a long way to go sometimes. And I think there's a couple of people who've raised their hand now that certification is coming back, and I'm glad to see that you're out and about and doing things. And just in San Antonio, where were you? What club were you at? Jenny's Club, or were you at?
Yes, at Jenny's Club, beautiful club.
Yeah, Sonterra
Racket Club, and we had seven applicants, and the week after she hosted a USPTA pickleball, so they have 4 standalone pickleballs there. And Jenny Gray is obviously she's on the USPTA board, so she's happy to, because it's a tricky thing, you know. You got to find a location that, you know, we have such fine margins that someone's got to donate their courts, and if it's you know, during the season, it's tough to donate indoor courts, because especially now everybody's booming, right? And so nobody wants to give you courts for free. And so, but she had a ton of, I don't know, I mean, what did she have, 60 courts, 45 courts?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of courts. So, so fortunately we had good weather, and we had 2 college players. We had one guy off the tour. We had this older gentleman I told you about. We had a mom from India who's immigrated, and her son's playing college tennis. So she's like my age, and she's coaching at a club, and it was just such a cool. That was a cool, diverse, you know, good picture of what the USPTA and what tennis in America really looks like, right?
Yeah, nice going. Yeah.
Well, if anytime you guys want to come back and schedule something, we're always welcome here at Bent Tree Country Club. So we've done it up until the pandemic stopped us, but we're back in the business again. So
we're back too, because we're no longer handcuffed by well, I shouldn't probably say that, but we're back in the business too. So we'll come see you soon.
Let's get to that in the second set. But first, Sid, are there any questions that we've neglected to ask you that you kind of wish we had asked you about your background in the great game of tennis in set 1 here?
Oh man. You know, I didn't prepare too well, AJ.
Are you kidding?
You had some good questions. I also played other sports.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for some kids, you know, growing up. Some kids may be, you know, adept to just being singular sports people. But honestly, I haven't seen and you probably have just as much experience as me in this. I haven't seen too many kids that have made it to the pro level because their parents have just forced them.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of kids who've quit tennis because their parents forced them. And I've seen a lot of kids make it to the highest level, not a lot because it's so hard to get there, but because they've chosen it, and they've also been able to choose to do other things, and they've kind of on their own chose. And I chose, honestly, maybe I could have been a good pro. The size back in those days, I was 6'1" and pretty athletic.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with it, right? Nowadays, I mean, when I was a kid, I'd watch Harold Solomon, Eddie Dibbs play, 60, 70 balls rallies. It looked like boys 12s now, and they were top 10 in the world. So things have changed in terms of physicality. But back then I probably could have played, but everybody in my family went to college. So It was like, I didn't even think twice, this would be the time, get out of high school, go out and get beat up on those satellite tours, at age 18 and 19 and 20, instead of it took me 5 years in college. Those years, playing tennis at NAIA level, who knows? But I'm happy where the path has taken me.
We're thrilled about your path too. That's been good. Well, good stuff in the first set. I've loved getting to know you, Craig Bell. Any questions as we kick off the second set?
We've had a couple.
Yeah.
We've had one from Nick Smith. I think is a pretty good question. This kind of relates to the first. Let me scroll up here. Does Sid or anyone feel that there should be more red clay here in the States? What about clay? Because you grew up in Chile, which I'm sure was clay court country. So, What do you think about clay courts? What do you think about?
That's an interesting question. We've heard this debate a lot. I'm sure. I don't know if you've talked about it at the Net Post, but I know at dinner on Friday night when I was in Overland Park this Friday, I had 6 of the applicants. We all went to dinner together. And one of the guys was saying, hey, what happened to tennis? The U.S. used to have all the top, and that's one of the factors. There's probably lots of them. But some people are saying, well, Europe has caught up to us, South America has caught up to us, but they all develop on the clay court. And the clay court is not a true bounce. On the hard court, you get used to it, and you almost close your eyes after the ball bounces. You know where the ball is going to be. On a clay court, your feet have to move, your eyes have to move, your racket has to move. So it's just a different animal. And there's some theories, and that's way above my pay grade of CB. I'm a dumb tennis pro, but I think that there's maybe some merit in that the development on clay. And I think the USTA, to their credit, is, from what I see, because our office is right on the campus of the USTA, and they bring in top juniors frequently, and not all the same ones. And they also bring their coaches with them, which is new. Martin Blackman, I got to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
New philosophy. He's bringing in the primary coach, paying for him, and the kid of these top age divisions, and they spend a ton of time on clay. And I think, maybe that is a great way to develop. I don't know. I mean, I've heard it, and AJ, maybe in CB, you could speak to that too. Is that something you think about? But for me, I love playing on clay. And when I lived in California for 20 years, I never played on clay, and I competed. I played 45 nationals and 50 nationals. But you go back now in Florida, I'm on clay all the time. In fact, my body's so beat up, I can't even walk on a hard court without falling over. So I'm all about the clay now.
Yeah.
But there may be something about the development. That's a really interesting question.
Great question, and way too humble an answer from you, Sid, but thank you for that.
Yeah, Nick also says if Anna Kay, one of your proteges, would have been ugly, she would have been the greatest.
And that's another thing about development, is that you think the countries that have caught up to us and the hunger of the different, third world or second world countries, especially, probably not third world. I mean, a lot of our, to be honest, our youth, they've never been hungry. They've never had no shelter. And they're like, well, why do I have to work hard? And that whole driving factor about work ethic, maybe that has something to do with where we're at. But we got a lot of good players in the U.S. And then we have a lot of good men in the top. We just don't have we haven't had a number one since Sampras, right?
It's true.
No.
Roddick briefly.
Yeah, Roddick was
Agassi briefly after Pete, I guess, but certainly Roddick was the last.
And that was what, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think
When was Rodney
04. So about 18 years. Yeah, it's been.
So I just had a thought here.
Yes.
So a question: when you're over in Europe, so everything's based on Europe these days. All these Europeans are, really good. Did you see that hunger over there versus, because you've seen both, continents basically. You see the U.S. and you see Europe. Was there a greater hunger? Was there greater desire? Was there, what was it or what is it that they have at the moment, or is it just their time in the fishbowl?
Let's see. When I was in Europe for those years, so I was in England and Belgium and Frankfurt, Germany,
Yep.
Setting up these academies.
Yep.
And so, first of all, we had kids that could pay. We didn't have any scholarships, so we had wealthy kids. But they wanted to. That was when Agassi, Sampras, Courier. I mean, the U.S. was still dominating on the world stage on the men's side, and so they wanted to emulate that. I mean, these kids would show up to our, voluntary Lloyd Academy, and they'd all have these Agassi Nike denim shorts, and so that was the standard back then. And so they were hungry to emulate whatever they thought Agassi was doing. And so maybe that's flipped now, Coco Gauff, what you do, go to Europe to academy. So definitely a flip, but back then everybody wanted to do it the way that the academy, because that was like I said, that was the pioneer. The whole academy idea was, I think, started with Nick and the Bollettieri thing. Yeah. But I don't know the hunger thing. I don't know. I've heard about Djokovic playing in a, what was a swimming pool with bombs going off. I don't know if that's all legend or what, but damn, you got to be pretty hungry if you're willing to practice in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, I just wondered. I mean, because you've been over there, I've never ever witnessed other than a very small snippet. You were over there for a period of time, and that's why I just kind of wondered. It's like, we've had some foreign. I've had some foreign pros, and they've worked hard to get here, obviously, and it seems like that we have a lot of hardworking people as well over here.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know if we
maybe as a kid, maybe the kids here don't have that desire to work hard, but maybe because they have some entitlement. Yep. I don't know. It's a big philosophical question for smart people. So you guys do that.
We'll get away from the philosophy and get into a meaty question that you actually alluded to about freedom, USPTA testing. And this question is coming in from our good friend who we saw last week in Oklahoma, the great Lane Evans, who is also a USPTA tester.
Yeah, so he's wondering, how will testing change? Will we get back to testing like we used to be, you think?
Man, that's a really good question. I've actually since that announcement went out on what day was that?
Thursday, maybe.
Thursday.
Yep.
I've gotten a bunch of emails, mostly from former. I call them colleagues because they're really the heart and soul of what I do. And they say, "Are we going back to normal?" I was like, "I don't think we're ever going back to the way it was before the pandemic and before our accreditation years. And the way it was before, just to summarize."
Good. Thank you. I was going to ask that. Thank you.
Yeah. So before this whole accreditation, we would set up a 2-day or even 1 day, and people would show up and we would just assess them. And we would tell them, "Here's your scores. Congratulations, you're a USPTA pro," or "Sorry, you need to go back and work on it." But we would not. If it was a 2-day, we would do what was called a PTCA. It was a 1-day kind of review. But how much can you really teach someone in 1 day, right? So the new pathway that we were worked hard on with the national governing body was to provide sort of this educational pathway to prepare you for whatever level certification you have. So, and we've seen the benefit of that. So now when we see applicants that have done a bunch of education, so this is what even Lane Evans could attest to this, and other testers. It was hard when someone would show up in like softball coaching shorts and running shoes and like a Target racket, and they would show up and say, "Hey, I'm here to take the certification exam." And we're like, "Man, we don't want to turn you off to the USPTA, but there's no way you're ready." And so this new pathway eliminates all that, because you got to go through a bunch of steps of education. So we're going to hold on to those things. And so there's the pathway that we've been doing since the beginning of this year has a bunch more education, and then a 3-day course at the end we still have the 3 main assessments. You have to do a private lesson, you have to do a group lesson, and you have to hit the ball. You have to hit the stroke balls into different targets and show that you have some competency of the way you hit the ball. So those haven't changed. Those are exactly the same ones that Craig took, that Lane took, that I took, and that we administer. But along the way, we got a ton more education involved. And we're not going to go back to just show up and give you a negative experience. Like, sorry, you suck. You cannot be part of the USPTA. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to say, you can do all this education and you'll know before you show up for these assessments where you're at. And so we're very excited about how we've elevated. That's our mission statement: elevate the standards of teaching tennis professionals in the U.S. We're excited about how we've elevated that. And that's thanks to the national and governing body that's worked with us for the last 4 years to kind of get this pathway in. Now, here's the rub. Will our association be able to sustain itself if people don't want to go through all this stuff to be certified? I mean, here, you know how many people got certified last year?
How many?
21. So before the pandemic, we would average 800 to 1,000 pros every year being certified, new ones. And we would lose about 800 to 1,000. We were pretty stagnant, people retiring. Last year, when we first started our certification with the accreditation, we had 4 people get certified. So obviously that's not a sustainable model. Yeah. And so that's one of the big reasons of the announcements. Like we can't do this.
No.
I mean, we're not going to be around if we're going to add 4 people a year. We had more people than that in our association die, way more than that.
Wow.
So now we're saying we have to make a product that is palpable. Of course, we want to elevate the standards. But we need to have people come in. We need to have people get educated, get certified, and stay in the association with a good experience. Because I mean, you know what we operate on is $315 a year from each member.
Yeah.
That's to sustain the whole association. And so we have to have membership or else we won't even be around. And we're the oldest teaching association in the world.
Yeah.
So we got to stay relevant. So more power to our board of directors who made this call, and nothing against the USTA. They've been working hard at it. It's not working out for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may soon.
Are you moving?
To Lane's question, we're not going back to the old way, but we're doing something that we don't have to answer to other powers that be, so that we can try to stay relevant.
And you're not moving back to Texas, right? I guess you're going to stay in Florida, right next to USTA.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen. That's right. A great question.
Yeah,
a lot could happen.
Yeah.
When we were in Houston, before I worked there, as you know, we had 2 courts.
Yep.
And here we don't have any courts because we have 100 courts right
next door.
Right next door. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they might say, well, those courts now aren't as accessible as they. And I know you're right next to USTA Florida. I mean, so you're in the middle between USTA Florida and the National Tennis Center. I mean, they share a parking lot with USTA Florida. I mean, so it's I wouldn't say a conundrum, but I mean, I'm sure that there was. I don't know if USTA was ready for us to pull away or not. That'd be interesting to be a fly on in the room with that conversation.
Well, this is interesting that our At the Net podcast is this week with the announcement just happened this week, because we'll know more next week and the week after, because we haven't had any response from the USTA and our, John Embry, just such a great advocate for the sport, and he's not burning any bridges. He knows we have to work with the national body, and we want to. They're the national governing body.
Yeah.
We want to work with them. We just can't afford to work with them the way it is right now. So that's why he said putting a pause. That's the key word, putting a pause. Not cutting relationships or bailing out. We're just not reapplying for accreditation.
Gotcha.
And I think that's a good term. So let us do our thing to stay, to see how we can continue to bring people in, certify them, educate, go to conferences, be who we are, without being hindered. And then at some point, maybe we work this out with the USTA.
Well, I like the pause, and Lane's got a good follow-up question, Craig. What does that say?
He says, how will we use our existing testers? Are we going to, are they going to help out in some way also? Do you foresee something like that in the future with our existing testers, our base out there?
Some of them. So like this I just got back, like you said, CB, last night at 2 a.m. from Kansas. And at this, Bunny Bruning, who is the head tester, each division had a head tester. And we're now calling, because we don't do so much testing as we do training. Yeah. So now we've even changed our name to coach developer. That was like a USTA name. So now we're all coach developers. We don't even use the name testing. She was supposed to be at the club with me for 3 days to shadow and to work with me so that she could continue delivering this 3-day course in Missouri Valley.
I see.
Unfortunately, she had some, I don't want to speak for what happened, but I know that it was a difficult family situation, so she couldn't make it. But what I'm doing is going to when I go somewhere, is to identify someone, usually a previous tester, to say, hey, if you're interested, we would love for you to shadow this so I don't have to go back there where you live.
Yeah.
And do. The tricky part is now that it's 3 days, and it was already a struggle for people to give up because you don't get paid that much. I mean, it's a stipend, which is nothing compared to what you make so it's really a labor of love for the USPTA. So it's 3 days instead of either 2 or 1 day. So a lot of the testers are saying, I don't have the time for that. So it is a little bit of a conundrum. Plus, it's a lot less frequent. We don't have that big a demand. We need to make a product that people want to come to, and we're hoping that this pause might help that.
Speaking of, we'll pause for just a second. The Warriors are up by 30. John Charles wants you to know that.
We know that.
Hold on.
Oh, look at that. There it is.
Oh, babies.
There we go.
Let's go, Warriors. Somebody told me I'm going to watch it after. When we're done, I'm watching it because I got it on the DVR there.
All right.
I'm a huge Warriors fan, but thank you for telling me.
Tiny spoiler alert there.
You didn't have the VHS tape?
I don't mind. As long as they're winning, I'm happy.
You don't have the VHS tape? You don't have the tape?
Yeah. Old school.
Okay, you're kind of old school. Yeah. Also, Greg Prudhomme chiming in. He says you're going to use Dr. Prudhomme, aren't you?
Arizona.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I said absolutely. That's what I said. Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever we do, the new certification pathway so Greg Prudhomme was the doctor. I should call him doctor. Got his PhD last year.
That's right.
Ooh, he's so smart, but he is a really smart guy. But anyways, whenever we do the next educational certification event in Southwest, he was the head tester. So now he'll be the coach developer for that area. He just used to train with it. And he actually came to Florida with a group of others to do some training. So we're ready to use to Lane's question, the model that we've used for years is where we had divisional testers, and they could deliver these great events for people within their division. So now we have divisional coach developers, just a name change, to deliver events in their divisions. And that's how we scale it. And that's what's always been a strength of USPTA is that our divisions really drive our entire association. I mean, USPTA Texas is probably the strongest, or I probably shouldn't say that, one of the strongest divisions within the association, right? They drive what they're doing in there. So we have to empower them to be able to do certification and all that within their division. So that is our goal, is to be able to scale this thing out to the division. So yes, Dr. Prudhomme, absolutely. But not all the testers. All the testers don't have the skill set, because testers could watch you give a lesson and they could say, give you some good notes, and they could tell you right away, yes or no. But coach development is training, so it's kind of two different skill sets.
Yeah, we'll say number one. We'll agree with you. So we
well, I know you will at the net post, but I got a lot of friends that are just coming out of their Florida division conference that just ended yesterday.
Past weekend.
And they're strong too. And I can't, NorCal, I got to shout out to my boys.
Definitely.
My girls in NorCal. There's a lot of good divisions.
There's a lot of great ones out there. Midwest is good. Southern, and those. The boys over in the Southern section or division, section is. I have to get my wording correctly and make sure that we're divisions. USTA is sections. I know that every once in a while we'll catch people slipping into the section versus divisions, but
true.
There's a lot of great pros out there. Trust us. There's and they're listening tonight. I mean, we've got Greg Prudhomme, Lane Evans, people like that are out there. Nick Smith is a local. You've never met Nick Smith, but he watches this.
Yeah, brilliant guy. Really, really great pro.
And then Greg says, thank you, Sir Sid. So I guess you can lean on Dr. GP out in the Phoenix area anytime you want to. So.
Yeah, Mr. Education, man. That guy's so smart. Hope he doesn't screw up his teaching and coaching. all that smarty pants stuff. That's what I've been dealing with for 4 years with the USTA. They're all PhDs.
Yeah.
And it's also like, hey, you got to dumb it down for me. I'm a teaching pro. I understand it.
Sid, you used a great expression earlier about, we've got to evolve. And that brings me to the last bit of the second set here, where we'd like to talk about future projects. Tell us whether it's technological or process oriented. Tell us a little bit more about coach development and how things will look in the near future.
Well, I'm super excited about it because with COVID, there's always this silver lining. So in fact, even our older pros, even people my demographic, have learned so much more technology, forced to by COVID, so that our online education is just way better than just putting out a webinar or just putting out something that you consume without interaction. So what I'm looking forward to in the future and within certification is interactive virtual, sort of like this, like how you and I get to interact.
Right.
So imagine a workshop with a coach developer with 6 or 8 people doing sort of this training, and they don't have to be at the club, and they don't have to, it could be after work hours, so they don't have to lose revenue teaching tennis. So we're definitely moving in training whatever we can do virtually, so that people, because the hard part about face-to-face is that you lose time away from your club. However, there really is no substitute for the face-to-face. So we're trying to balance what we can train virtually, but very competently. So you don't just put on something and just watch it or fast forward it till the end and take the quiz and then go back and take the quiz, where you interact and you learn. So that's exciting. And then also what needs to be done face to face, so that, people want to connect with people, right? And so, and then some of the stuff you got to see them do face to face in terms of assessment. They can submit a video. So when I was certified and when you were certified, you gave a private lesson as part of your certification. Now the private lesson is actually a video submission.
Right.
So it's assessed by video. The notes go back to you. But at some point we need to see what you do live. And that's what this 3-day workshop at the end of this whole level 2 certification has, a group live lesson, like the same one we all did when we got tested. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to those things, just continual involvement, continual use of technology that helps people get better as coaches, because really our DNA is we're a trade association of tennis pros who want to get better. And if you don't want to get better, don't join the USPTA, because we want to get better, whether you're old like me or young like Craig Bell, or medium age like AJ, whatever you're at, we want to get better. And we can, because the game looks so different than when I played it, and it's ever changing, and there's more stuff to learn. If you don't want to get better, don't join us, because we're about getting better.
Good stuff.
That's exciting.
I love hearing that. Speaking of getting better, we are always passionate about, I get to be director of education chair for USPTA Texas and book speakers. tell us where you see or what advice you might have for people putting on conferences. Do you see declining numbers because there are more options online, or do you see a desire for face-to-face, or a combination? What are you seeing out there, Sid?
Well, that's a great question, because we all, during the COVID, nobody did face-to-face, and everybody's conferences were pretty successful. From the national level, it was a very successful conference, to the division level.
Yeah.
But when we went back last year in Vegas, and it was during a spike of COVID even, and we had good numbers, not record breaking, but the number one comment was, it's just good to be together in person. And that may just be a backlash of being so virtual for like an entire year. But I honestly, AJ, I think we're designed as human beings. I think we're created to be in a personal, non-virtual, but personal relationship. And I think that's why tennis will always be relevant, because maybe we're going to teach tennis someday virtually with goggles and stuff. But honestly, the best tennis teaching is when you're with your student and you interact, and the sights and sounds and smells that you're surrounded with it's very personal. It's a very personal. And so I hope that our division conferences don't go away, because honestly, before COVID, some of the divisions, they were really dying out. But it's like anything, if you put effort and energy and resource, takes money, and you make it good, like Texas does, they love to come back. And so maybe it's a combination, maybe it's like alternate years, or 2 a year, one virtual, one. Some of the divisions are doing a face-to-face conference, and then they'll have a virtual session so other people can attend. I don't know, but I do think that we're just created to be in person. You're never going to have a successful marriage on Zoom. Well, heck, it's hard to have a successful marriage anyway, but
off Zoom. That's funny.
That's probably a bad example.
That's good.
Hey, I'm happily married. Well, sometimes happily married for almost 30 years. Sometimes happily married. So I'm happily married. She's sometimes happily married.
Yeah.
We had a couple comments here.
Yes.
Dan Beadle chiming in, face-to-face and live interaction has always been better. You can ask questions and network with others. Virtuals is tough to do that. So because you do get information, but the face-to-face I think is like Dan. I'll second that. It's you learn more at the bar. And not that I'm saying that I'm not saying that we should be drinking at the bar, but I've known people who have some lemon waters. We call it lemon waters around this area. It's kind of the joke for a beverage, but there's a lot of inner action that goes on outside the classroom at conventions. I've learned a lot, from that personally. That's just my personal perspective.
And I should brag on you a little bit. Many people have told me how much they've learned from you, even though you're only having a lemon water at the bar.
I'm having a real lemon water.
They're listening to you.
I always say, Craig, like at the conferences, and I've been to a gazillion of them before I worked with the USPTA, is the best stuff. It's actually like a speaker's done talking, and then there's usually a little like a 10-minute buffer where people go to a different class, or if you're at the court, you stay on the court, and then you start talking with who you're sitting around. And that's where the application starts, because then it's like, oh, that won't work at my club. I'm going to have to think. And then the best learning is like the in-between time. It's like the relating with pros on your level. You're not the freaking, Nick Bollettieri out there or whoever the main guy is, but those concepts, then you're relating with just a normal teaching pro, and you're like, oh, I don't know if that would work. And then, well, what if you tried this? Yeah. What if we tried this? And just that whole, and that's what we're all about. It's just a bunch of pros like trying to take ideas and implement them so they work where we're at. And that makes us better and it actually fires you up and encourages you, because it's a hard job being a teaching pro. People think it's super easy. Oh, you're teaching tennis. You're a tennis coach. Oh, yeah, man. I work nights, I work weekends, and I work summers and holidays.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
They're like, no, Sid, you're wearing shorts. You got a tan. Come on. You got to go.
Yeah. My free time is from 11 to 3. What do you do at 11 to 3? Watch soap operas? I mean, there's nothing going on from the ladies are done at 11. The juniors come at 3. That's when I'm free. What I do? Take a 4-hour hour lunch.
I thought you meant 11 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh, that.
No, 11 a.m. to 3. That's my only free time as a teaching pro, right?
Well, then you get up at 3 a.m. with Lane Evans.
That's right. He goes for a workout.
He wonders why everybody's not at the gym at 4 a.m. And I'm like, Lane, we're all asleep for the most part. Actually, the COO had chimed in.
That is Fred Viancos.
Yes.
Oh,
Freddie V is. You better pay attention. Sid. Could be how busy everyone is due to post-COVID. That's a good comment as well. I mean, I think there's a lot going on. We were talking about that just a couple of days ago. We had a golf outing, and the board, our USPTA Texas board met, and we were talking about some things coming up, and if we're going to even talking about our newsletter, whether we're going to send it out to people or we're going to try to go all digital.
Yeah.
And that's, you got to change. It's what you're saying. Evolve. Yeah. Evolving, changing. If you're not thinking about this kind of thing, we're going to get bypassed, and somebody's going to run over us. And I think that you're exactly right. With testing and certification, it's there's a blend of some old stuff, but definitely there's a lot of things out there that I think that tools on the table that are about to be put on our belt that I think we can sharpen the knife and do all that kind of stuff. So, but I think you're right. It's interesting.
Craig, let me tell you this quick story.
Please, Sid.
The World Conference it was somewhere in the desert before COVID, before Vegas. So it wasn't that long ago. The last one, it wasn't at La Quinta. Where was that one at? I was already on the national staff. It was my first one on the national staff, so it had to be within the last 5 years. But during that conference, this guy from Hawaii, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to use names, so I won't. So he came up to me and he told me, he's like, this education and certification, most of that stuff should be done, virtually. And this is before COVID.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah. And this is how ignorant I am. Like I told you, just a dumb guy. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Virtual.
Thanks for the idea. I don't have time to listen to that. If I see him again, I know exactly who it is. I'm going to apologize. I was like, I was so close-minded. And you know what? You were in front of the curve, and I just blew you off because I'm just stuck. I'm just stuck thinking this is working the way it's working. And so I think, to your point, CB, now that we've had this whole thing that's triggered us that we have – we need when someone presents an idea like that to me, I need to be way more open-minded. Okay, what does that mean for us? Instead of, oh, no, we're fine. Sorry. Good idea. Get out of here. Yeah. So I always remember that guy. Like, oh, my gosh, this guy was like a prophet or something.
He was way ahead, which is kind of what Fred was
alluding to.
Yeah. What's Fred's comment, CV?
Well, that's what he said. Could be how busy everyone is due to post-COVID.
Gotcha.
That's the reality that we live in. We've all been busy. I mean, we had some of our best months. I've analyzed our months since I started here in February of '97. We had 3 of our best months last year at the club, as far as from a lesson program. And it's amazing. Now the courts aren't busy. Now, Lane, you can come out and play tennis right now if you want to.
Yeah, he has to work out in 3 hours.
But I think as I drive around, and I see the barometer as the public parks where there's nobody like us that's around, and just people playing casually. I saw several people. I passed some courts over close by that are just sitting there, and I saw a couple of people out using the court, and I'm like, okay, we're still doing well. I mean, because we're there to shake up things and get things going, and so we're going to be fine from that standpoint. Tennis is always going to be good, but where I think you see the barometer is just on the public courts where people don't have to be there for any reason. They just want to be there, and they're out there. Nobody's trying to tell them to come out. Maybe they were watching Rafa on at Paris at the French Open. They got inspired to come out and hit a few balls, right, Rafa? They might said, hey, I got to be able to hit some balls like that guy. Follow through with my left hand up high. Right there. So, but what do you think that? How do you see tennis? It's kind of interesting. As you drive around, what do you see down in the Florida area? Or what do you see in Kansas City? Because you have to drive around a lot. Do you see?
Yeah, and don't be afraid to mention Padel and pickleball too. Sure. We're in.
Well, I have not met a tennis director or head pro in the last year that has not told me specifically, I'm short of pros. I was like, my programs are booming and I can't hire a pro, and I'm hiring people just to have bodies out there.
Wow.
So that's encouraging, and it's also scary.
Yeah.
Because we need to certify more pros and give them some education. And right now, people they don't care what they're just like, are you a warm body? You want a job?
Yeah.
You have any experience that did you play tennis before? I mean, there's a big need out there for people to fill positions to just deliver any kind of product. So it's also a huge opportunity. So, I think that this, I guess it's the COVID boom, that people played during COVID, and it's kind of gone viral for lack of a analog term.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone viral that people are, they're hearing from their neighbor and their friend, I tried tennis, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's exponentially growing. And that's what, to Fred's point on his comment, well, people can't go to conferences because they can't get away from the club. I mean, they don't have enough people working there. There's just a huge demand. So that's good.
Yep.
We've got to capitalize on it somehow in terms of keeping people in the game so they don't take a lesson from, Joe Schmo who doesn't know squat, and then they're like, oh, or maybe they'll just play recreational. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know we need to ramp up our certification.
Hey, I have a thought for you, okay? And you might not like this or not, but tennis on campus has a bunch of kids. And when we were down and had our National Executive Committee meeting, I walked over and wasn't playing tennis at the time, but I was just milling around the shop there, and the tennis on campus kids were playing there. And there were some kids from the Dallas area at a local university, UT Dallas. And I went over and started talking to them and said, hey, and one of my pros just finished up at UT Dallas, and I was saying, hey, do you know my pro John? And they go, oh, no, John.
Yeah, he's on the team.
Right.
He's on the varsity.
All right, so here's where I'm going with that point, all right? What if we had a little booth, at all the tennis on campus events out there, manned, saying, hey, we're USPTA. We need some tennis pros. Would you be interested? You've got thousands of kids, I mean, literally tens of thousands of kids who might not have ever thought about our particular association, never thought about, working. I just thought, what a great opportunity that is right there on us, because these kids are still playing. They're not playing varsity tennis. So they're just playing tennis on their own because they want to, and there's still a championship there. But I just was thinking, what a great opportunity for us to be at that level, whether it's on a national, sectional, regional, local level. I'd be happy to go over to I did some tennis on campus events for the USTA several years ago, and I thought, what a great opportunity. If we just had some brochures, some information, and said, hey, have you ever thought about, USPTA teaching tennis? Because it's a great opportunity. I mean, I've made a living out of this. I know AJ has. I know you have, Sid. I mean, the great game has been great to all of us, and people who are commenting, as well. We're all tennis pros, and it's been just a really great life. And I think that there's those kids out there that they don't have to be the greatest players. I wasn't the greatest player out there.
You're pretty good, but
okay.
I love that you planted that seed with those kids who doing essentially club tennis or tennis on campus. Sid, we had a great guest on one of our Wednesday night shows, and I know you're going to have more announcements coming through, and we're so booked on Sundays, but I want you on a Wednesday to update us on some of this stuff. But this guy, he's on the, kind of like Craig is the leader of the task force for USPTA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with respect to the Native American community. This man, Chris Tran, was for the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, and he said some of the problems aren't getting kids interested in tennis to play. It's to see tennis as a rewarding, wonderful career, which we've all had and continue to have. I thought that was an interesting comment, and that's why I'm so passionate about Craig's point about tennis on campus. I'll give you an example. One day I was driving home from church through the SMU campus, and usually you see 4 or 5 courts filled, and it looks good, and it's busy. There were 120 people on 5 courts, in and around those courts, in different uniforms, and it was a regional tennis on campus. So we had, University of Tech, all the Big 12 schools, and then some. And I was so impressed. I had to pull over. I was dressed more like this, and long pants on. I was like, I got to get out of the car and see what this is and plant a seed like Craig did. How do we get more people? Because here's a bummer: is when about 5 years ago, when I was first on the board of USPTA Texas, I read the stat that I think I was 48 years old at the time, and the stat was that the average age of the tennis professional in America is 48. And then, of course, a year later, it was 49. How? and by now, it might be 52, 53. I don't know. But
You're living the curve.
I'm in the curve. It's terrible. But you got to tell us what we can do, number one. Number two, what you'd like to encourage all the divisions to do to get more of these young people, the U30 crowd, to see tennis as not just a fun, cool thing where you get a tan and wear shorts, but it's a successful, rewarding career here.
Yeah, both. I love that idea, and you're right. We're aging one of the reasons we're aging is because we like to stay in it.
Yeah,
so when you see people coming in like at these certification events, for the most part they're younger, 30 and younger, which is good. That means the people coming in, but the tennis on campus, we tried something from the national perspective. Our office, because obviously it was in Orlando, the national championship. It was a great, we had staff out there for 3 days, and we handed out a bunch of stuff. But we need to go, and that's the power of our associations is our divisions. We need to form some kind of idea that can be disseminated amongst the divisions so that when you see that at SMU or UT Dallas, where was it?
Both. Yeah.
TCU, right. SMU.
When you see that out there, that you just stop because that's a passion. You're like, oh, look at all this stuff. But we need to be proactive and say, here are the events. Mm-hmm. Let's get the word out. Let's get something that's relatable to them in terms of information. Not something that they can't consume because it's, old school. I don't know. And obviously it's not my wheelhouse because, I'm old, but I think that idea, because these are not people that they don't have aspirations to play pro tennis.
No.
And part of our issue at the national campus was some of these people, a lot of the teams were like, they were at the national finals. They're like, they're like 2 Ivy League schools. And there was like, I don't know, MIT or something. I don't know, like, we're not going to convince them to change their career to tennis, but because, they're probably spent whatever they spent to get an Ivy League education to be a world changer in their academic pursuit. But just the idea that you can make a living in tennis, I think that needs to be propagated at every one of these events because people don't think that. And they think the only thing you can do in tennis is, be a pro. Or be a coach of a pro. And these are people that also took programs at our clubs. They're like, well, no, you could be like one of the people at our clubs.
Yeah.
It doesn't cross. Who else it doesn't factor into is their parents. They don't think of that as a career choice.
That was Chris Tran's point.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also another point here that goes along, We have this huge network in Texas called high school tennis.
That's right.
And there's about 65,000 kids in Texas that play high school tennis every year. But where the rubber meets the road, I know that we have a big high school coaches convention at Horseshoe Bay. Typically 500-600 coaches that go there, but we got to drill down even further because not all that information gets to the kids, but go to the high school tournament, around, and then be able to set up a kiosk at, our high school national or high school Texas high school tournament. That they do something at College Station. Sometimes they do it in Austin. I was just thinking about that. That would be a great place. I'll go down and sit at those places. If you've got the information, I'm happy to kind of throw, maybe AJ and I under the bus and go, hey, give us some, pamphlets and broshures and
we love a good road trip. We'll do it.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. And it's such this guy, the director of PTM at Methodist University, he's a used PTA pro named Scott Hambach. Uh-huh. He directs a lot of tournaments. Single guy, got weekends free. So he met a guy just graduated. This happened last week. Graduated from high school. The guy's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not good enough to play in college, but I want to stay in tennis. He'd never even heard of PTM. And he's like, dude, I got this thing. Oh, he didn't say dude, whatever he said. He said,
Coach, I got this thing.
Yeah, he's like, I got this program called PTM, Professional Tennis Management. And the next day, the guy was registered at Methodist University. He just didn't know. He didn't know about careers in tennis, about all the opportunities, not, coaching and not coaching, working in officiating, and he just didn't know because people don't. So getting the word out, if we could do that, like you said, CB, and scale it, I think that could be a real game changer in terms of, and even what Chris Tran said, educate the parents. Hey, it's an honorable career. It's a gift to people. This is one of my favorite quotes from Billy Graham, evangelist from years ago. He says, the average coach will impact more people in a year than the average person will impact in a life. It could be a calling, to be involved in tennis. We've all felt it, right?
Yes.
That's why we just love it so much. It's way bigger than forehands and backhands, but we got to get the word out somehow. So maybe college on campus is a possibility, or tournaments, or
well, we have the Texas Grand Slam that has 1,000 kids that come every year. 1,000 kids, and they're the best kids in the state. And these are not in the old system. They'd be called super champs. I'm still. I can't figure out what they are right now.
L2,
level 7, or level 2.
I'm still struggling with that, but. Typically it moves around different places. This year it's in Georgetown, but I know they have a night where there's some speakers and people are invited. You have parents, you have kids down there. Another place that we got to be on the ground, I think, where the action is, and there's just where we can have touch points with those individuals, and that it takes a little bit of thinking. That's why I'm passing this on to you, because I know you have the voice of you can talk to John and Fred and Ramona and say, hey, we were talking about this on the podcast, and Craig and AJ and I, and think this might be some good ideas. Don Beadle, Don Beadle, he was a football player. With the need for more pros to fill demand, does the USPTA have anything in place to help promote PTM at Ferris State? So that's what we're talking about, or Methodist. We were just in that, that topic. And then Dr. GP says, to your point, CB1, my brother coaches the club team at GCU, and we have 3 of them teaching at our club. They are interested in getting certified. So beautiful. So those kind of things are out there. I think that if we...
Greg Prudhomme, we know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy who knows a guy. You're right. I think we've got that opportunity out there. Yeah, we're onto something. I think we can really, inspire that next generation. But we got to drill down to the local level. We can't just say nationally and then expect everybody to go talk to.
We need to empower the divisions, like give materials and ideas and events, and then let the divisions take over, because. We did our small staff did a 3-day event on the national campus. That's just a drop in the bucket. And it may have some success, but if all of our divisions had some,
same thing.
Like you said, CB said, I'd go do it. Yeah. There's a bunch of pros that would say, I'd go do it. Well, I get to watch good tennis. I get to propagate the USPTA. I get to talk about the industry, about coaching, or just sit there and hand out brochures and talk to parents.
Yeah. And if I may add, take some quick videos and put it on Snapchat and Instagram and throw it out that way, because
it's TikTok. TikTok. You got to throw some TikTok out there.
That's right.
You got to throw you some TikTok there.
Boomerang TikTok CB.
Right. But things like that. We're older people, and we're not the face of USPTA. We shouldn't be. But we should. We know people who could be, and because at 62. I'm not in the early stages of my career. I'm on the later stages.
You're also not on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok either. No, I closed that account down. I just didn't understand the need for TikTok. I just didn't see it.
But you're running the soundboard and all that stuff right now, and you're doing it all, man. You're tech savvy.
So well, I know kind of which buttons to push. We have other people out there who can show me some things, so I know.
You're just not trusted with your password.
That's so funny.
Right? Yeah, my back of the house kid. Dad gum him, Dave the brain. He won't hand the secrets to the kingdom. He doesn't trust me with the keys to the car yet, Dad. So, but anyway.
Well, let's go to the third set. I want to have some fun with Sid and let the hair down. And he's had a lemon water and he's got his Dubs shirt on. Can we get a quick update? Or why don't you guys go third set? And I will. I'll get the update on Boston versus Golden State.
Okay. All right. So we always talk about who sponsors this segment. That's the great Blair Descaray with Master Systems. If you need any court work, any type of products and things like that might be associated with any type of tennis court, pickleball court, basketball court, the great Blair Descaray with Master Systems, he actually is sponsoring, the new hats that we have. So we're going to get Sid a new hat, a new lid. We've got some new lids that are nicer. They actually have a larger. AJ has one of the older ones.
I've got the retro tiny ones.
Oh yeah, I like them.
Got the bigger one right there. Yeah. But Blair Descaray with Master Systems is the guy. As is, we'll say a sponsor of this is USPTA for the third set as well. So if you're interested in joining the association and being like Sid the Kid and AJC and CB1, we'd love to have you. Look up USPTA.com and you can figure out how to get involved with. Freddie V already says something. So do you want to say
Warriors won by 29.
Okay. Wow. Steph Curry must have been on his game. Kind of like Rafa today. So he was on his game. Look at that strength in numbers. Sid's going to do the dance. You're going to do the victory dance.
Right. That's an old school T-shirt. That's the last time I went to a final. So
did you go to? Have you been into the Warrior games? Have you been to the?
Oh yeah. I went to the 4 of the 5 years they won. I went to 4 finals games. Wow. I didn't buy the ticket because I'm a teaching pro, but I had. Silicon Valley member friends that would take me as their and one.
Yeah. So did you see Rick Barry ever play? Were you there for the granny shots? No, you weren't that far back?
A little before me. I was only there. So I was there for a bunch of bad years. Well, now we're talking basketball, but the good years started Baron Davis and that. And then, of course, they're when they won the championships a few years ago before I moved to Florida.
So you weren't there with Nelly and Run DMC and those guys?
Nelly.
Chris Mullins? Man, they were
a little before me.
Yeah. Manute Bol shooting threes.
Yeah, that was my time over there.
Oh, man, that was awesome. I remember I look up on YouTube sometime watching him shooting threes from like 50 feet, and he's sitting there going,
yeah. So I was there when I first moved there. It was like Latrell Sprewell.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, he was always on the ESPN highlights.
Yes.
But you go watch their game, it was so boring. That was Don Nelson. Just give the ball to Latrell and everybody else get out of the way. Yeah. I mean, it was the antithesis of way Warriors play basketball now, where everybody touches the ball, moving. Right. But he had some great highlights. It's just like 5 in a game, and you have to watch the whole game to watch him do that. But I suffered through the bad times and made it through the good times. Good fan.
All right, question. I got an idea, but I don't know if this is accurate or not. So I'll ask a follow-up question. First band you saw in concert?
Oh my goodness,
bands. Remember,
I was kind of sheltered as a kid. When rock music. My mom and say that was like you shouldn't listen to that stuff when I was growing up. But I did go. I saw John Denver live.
Oh.
And that was pretty out there on the grassy slopes in Michigan.
That wasn't in the Rocky Mountains for Rocky Mountain High?
It was in Michigan. I was in high school.
Or he wasn't.
On the Temptations at Michigan State Fair, the original Temptations.
Oh, the Temps.
Yeah.
Doo-wop, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first band probably in a big setting.
So your mom and dad subscribe to the Loggins and Messina. Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That beat's from the devil.
That's Flip Wilson. Devil made me do it. Devil made me do it. Who's your favorite band? Who do you like to listen to? Who's on the old cassette?
8-track.
Who's on the 8-track?
Well, I love Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh man,
Free Fallin'.
Yes.
Yeah, good old rock and roll. But I'd say my favorite genre is country, but I have some of those old school rock and roll bands if I had to say my favorite band. But nowadays on the radio, I either listen to like Z88.3 Christian radio or country music. Those are the 2 dials.
So I got to ask this. So this is my follow-up. So did you ever see Journey, the famous band from San Francisco?
I did not see Journey. They were already broken apart when I moved there. So I moved there in 91, but I know their songs. I remember like going through like a breakup with a girl in high school, like riding on the bus with my head against the in the window, listen to Journey songs. They bring back high school memories. Journey.
Oh, you never? I thought that's the famous band from San Fran in the Bay. So I figured he'd had to have seen the.
I haven't seen him. No.
No, you never have. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I always like to ask this question because I think it kind of talks about personality and what where you kind of are in the hierarchy of life. If you're in a band, and you might have been in a band, are you the lead singer, guitar player, bass player, piano, drummer, glockenspiel player like me? I'm a famous glockenspiel player. So where's Sid the Kid?
I've been in multiple bands, and in my head, I am the lead guitarist. But in the bands I've been in, I'm the handheld percussionist. Like I shake the egg or do the tick-a-tack like you.
Tambourine
guy. You keep time.
Yeah.
Have you been in a band?
Maybe sing a little backup vocal. So I play in my church band and I play the rhythm guitar because I'm just the regular 5-chord guy. I can't do any. I can't do that, but I can strum it.
Like your boy Freddie V can play guitar.
I think he's a guitarist. I've never heard him, but I figure he's probably good. He's got like 100 guitars, so he must have some.
I think he has 101. Based on I saw a post, he has a new guitar.
Got a new Taylor.
Yeah. 12 strings, and he's got sometimes they come to the office. I think he's trying to hide them from his wife Jody or something. Ship boxes. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, I didn't buy.
To the office.
I didn't buy anything. No, that was. No. It was already here.
It was a gift.
It's been here for years and years.
Yeah, I got one guitar. Yeah. I bought it in a pawn shop.
Wow.
1989. And I still got it. It's an Epi, and it's just an acoustic guitar. And
Epiphone,
my son's gone through a gazillion guitars. He's a guitarist. He's like, Dad, man, you got to get another guitar. I was like, why? When I got the old school. It doesn't even have a pickup. I had to put the old school thing in that
little thing in the string.
Wire coming out to hook it up to the amps. And I'm like, if it's got good strings and it's tuned, it sounds all right. For the way I play it, anyway.
That sounds like my tennis rackets. I don't care what I play with, as long as I get strings and a new grip. I'm in.
So, who's your favorite guitar player? Who do you style yourself after? Who do you pattern yourself after?
Well, I don't style myself. I only know I'm a 5-chord hack, dude. Boom, boom, boom. But my favorite guitarist, dude, music. Well, Santana. Did he just play the national anthem at the Warriors opening game? Oh, what a guitarist!
He lives up there in Marin, not too far from San Francisco. Yeah.
So, probably someone super good like Santana but I don't model myself after CB because I got none of that skill level.
Hey, 5 chords, that's better than me. I can't even play 1 chord, But I play a great air guitar. Air guitar is great.
Yeah.
They could turn off the amp and everything like that, and I could get up there and start acting like I'm playing. I always wanted to be in a band. I thought that'd be kind of cool to get up on stage and do something like Sid, something cool like that.
This guy, I had a summer coach, and he was a freshman at Arizona State. This is it, and he came to be a summer coach. You know how kids are. You just don't realize how stupid they are until they tell you. This was back when that video game called Air Guitar, or what was it called?
Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero, yeah.
Guitar Hero, yeah. And he was super good at it. And so he told me, it's like, so what are you going to do with you? He's like, I'm going to be a guitarist. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I mean, no one can beat me in air guitar. I'm like, dude, you can't. Have you ever played a guitar? No, but I'm the best at Guitar Hero or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, how stupid. He's on the tennis team at Arizona State, and he thinks he's going to be a guitarist because he's Guitar Hero champ. And he was really good at Guitar Hero. What are you thinking? But anyways.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. I remember a couple, I think Ashton or Christopher, one of my kids had Guitar Hero, and I remember going in there in their room one day. I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty tough." That's a lot different than guitar. I've tried to strum the guitar a few times.
It's like a fast-moving Tetris game. You got to hit the buttons at the right time.
Yeah. I think so. Who was it that was? There's like a Gene Simmons or somebody who plays guitar, and they played some, Guitar Hero has a couple of rock and roll songs, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody along that line, and they couldn't even play their own song on Guitar Hero. They were sitting there looking at it. They were like, this doesn't make any sense, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't, but they were very, I just remember 25, 30 years ago when it first came out that they couldn't play their song on, or maybe it was Jimmy Page or somebody like that also too from, there's a bunch of those kind of songs. But
oddly enough, in the virtual world, I saw 30 by 30 on ESPN where this young guy raced on a video game, like a racing game, car racing.
Yep.
And it was and then he actually went to like F3 or some circuit and was a champ. Just so, I say Guitar Hero, but now they may make a game like virtual racing that actually is so like-minded that you can transfer it into. So like I said before with that Hawaii guy, I don't want to be the person that says, that's not going to work. But it didn't work back then when that Arizona State guy says, I'm going to be a guitar guy because he's guitar hero. No, that did not translate.
Let's just say that Guitar Hero is not as close to real guitar as a simulator is to a real car. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you for articulating, AJ.
You probably should have said, hey, you have a better career at teaching tennis or playing tennis than you do at Guitar Hero.
Right. Stick with us.
Stick with your day job.
That was the worst plan ever. I was real sensitive to him. I was like, dude, that's the worst plan ever. You need to stick to tennis.
You told it like it is, man.
Right. You're good at tennis, so keep with it. All right. Speaking of jobs and kind of what we were kind of alluding to, what was your first paid job as little Sid Newcomb? Did you have a paper route up there in Michigan? And throw papers?
I did. Actually, my first paid job was a paper route. I was in 9th grade in Michigan, and it was cold. And on Sundays, you'd have to go and put the comics in. The Sunday papers were huge.
Yep.
Then I graduated from that to Dancer's Fashion. It was a corner clothing store. I had to wear a little tie. I had a clip-on tie. And I'd work there on the weekends when I wasn't playing tennis. And I didn't know anything. I mean, I don't know how politically correct this show is, but ladies would come and ask me about bra sizes and stuff. I was a 15-year-old kid. I'm like, what? Like, well, the bra section's over there. I kept that job. I mostly just cut. The only thing I was good at was going in the back and cutting down all the boxes with a knife and putting them. All the other stuff, I had no idea what I was talking about. But then I worked for Rick Furman at the Racket Club of Lansing, and I learned to string rackets. I swept the indoor courts with the big, sweeper and worked in the front desk. So as soon as I got my first job in tennis, I've never had any job outside of tennis. I did do construction one summer in college, pounded nails and stuff like that, because it paid way more than the tennis job, and I was broke. But once I started tennis job as a junior in high school, I've had tennis. I've done every tennis job you could probably that there is, I would think. Yeah, maybe not, but.
So was that next to your Dancing Fashions, or was that next to the Chess King in the mall? Was that
Chess King? You're nailing it. Mid '80s or early '80s.
Did you see Mike Damone coming through for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, coming over to the pretzel factory?
That's right.
He's like, Newcomb, wherever you are, that's the place to be. That's how he met his wife. He's like, the lady will have a linguine with white clam sauce and a Coke with no ice. And she's beautiful.
Oh, there we go.
See, we entertain ourselves.
We
here.
do.
Yeah, I know, you do. You guys are amazing.
All right. Speaking of movies and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, favorite movie, TV shows? What's old Sid fire up these days on the Netflix?
I love Ted Lasso, current movie, but I'm waiting for the new season. Mm-hmm. I just saw on the plane last night or this morning, whatever it was. Remember, I got it early. Mm-hmm. I saw the first 2 episodes of Bel Air, which is like remember the Fresh Prince of Bel Air?
Yeah.
So this is serious. It's based exactly the same storyline, but this is serious with like drugs and hardcore fighting. And I'm intrigued. I'll tell my wife, I don't know if it was on Paramount or maybe ones we don't have, but I watched 2 episodes. So that's pretty cool. And I think Will Smith is actually the producer of this thing, but it's called Bel Air. Favorite movie? I don't know. I got so many favorite movies.
Did Chris Rock was on Bel Air and Will Smith came over and slapped him? No, didn't show up that way.
He said, "Don't talk about my wife."
Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth.
That was such a awkward,
crazy.
That was weird. At first, I thought when I first saw it, I thought, okay, this is staged.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's so surreal.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, this actually happened? What the heck? People do all kind of weird stuff, man. Humans are weird.
Jim Morrison and the Doors say people are strange. You know,
When you're a stranger.
We're going way back here.
You guys are on cue, man.
Right. Well, you know, we just make ourselves laugh. You
We
know,
do. It's okay.
All right. Now, speaking of making ourselves laugh, because I think this would be a fun question for you. If you were to have a soiree, hoedown, shindig, a party, let's say, and it's a dinner party or a breakfast party, could be a lunch party. Who would you invite? You know, you can invite as many guests as you want. We know AJ and I would be invited to this.
Absolutely.
At the
Top
Newcomb.
of the list would be CB and AJ.
You're so sweet.
So, you can go, intergalactic. You can have, Mr. Spock on, at this dinner, or you can have anybody from way back in biblical times, about Adam and Eve to all the way forward. You can go in the metaverse, and you can have different people, come in, from the metaverse. So, who would Sid Newcomb have at like a little dinner party, possibly?
Well, heck, if it was a dinner party, if it was like classy. And kind of not too party, not too like where you could talk and you get to meet people. I'd probably want like Roger Staubach.
Oh, yes.
My childhood hero. I definitely would like to see Bjorn Borg. I would like to be able to talk to my childhood heroes. But if it was just a party to party, AJ and CB for sure.
Oh, yeah.
If it's loud and out of control, I'd probably want some rockers from back in the 80s. Maybe I'd have REO Speedwagon come hang out with us, or I don't know. That's a great question. I want to think more about that and get back to you.
So you'd have Tom Petty and Kevin Cronin.
Absolutely. If it was a party to party, I'd just like light it up. But if I could actually talk and meet people, I'd love to meet Arthur Ashe and talk to him a little bit. I never met him. I'm sure you guys may have, but just some of those iconic figures from the past when they were a little older than me, and you wonder where you'd be in life if it wasn't for people like that, and they would never know that, right? I met Roger Staubach once, but it was just to shake his hand, take a picture. I could never tell him, hey, I wonder where I'd be without you. He'd be like, hey, get this guy away from me.
So would you have Greg Landry, the old Detroit Lion quarterback, at this party?
I don't think so. No. Maybe Tom Landry.
Tom Landry for sure.
Yeah, I just remembered I was sitting there. You said you were from Michigan, so I know the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. You got a good memory. Yeah,
that was Greg Landry.
I remember I'm a consummate. I'm by birthright a Cowboys fan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My mom was born in Fort Worth, and my grandparents who had a big influence on me. The only home. Remember, my dad was an Air Force pilot, so we moved everywhere. The only home I ever went back to for like holidays and stuff was always in Fort Worth. And so I'm a Rangers fan and a Cowboys fan, and people can badmouth me all they want. I was like, it's just, I was born into it, dude. I had no choice.
It's by birthright.
That's right.
All right.
For good or bad.
East Coast or West Coast? Because you've lived on both coasts, so this is a good question right there. So East Coast, West Coast.
I never lived on the West Coast until I moved there. I did one summer, actually. I did a voluntary camp at UC Santa Barbara years and years ago. Beautiful spot. And that was my first time ever spending time there. But when you don't live in California, like anywhere else in the country, you don't even consider California. They don't count in the vote for national, the election's over by the time that their vote. You never consider it. And then when you live over there, you forget that the whole world's on the East. So now I live in Florida, and the East Coast has so much stuff to do and see, driving distance to Georgia and South Carolina and North, So I'm ignorant. I don't even know geography on the East Coast because I never lived there as a kid. So I don't know. I would say Texas.
Yep. That's west. We've got a coast, but it's way down south. So
That's right. South Padre.
South Padre, Galveston,
Corpus,
those kind of places. All right,
my wife loves the Northern Cal. There's nothing like the climate in California. I mean, honestly, the climate in Florida kind of stinks. It's nice during a lot of it, but in the summer, it's rough. It's pretty humid.
Humid and warm, yeah.
Do you get no-see-ums up in Orlando? Those no-see-um bugs? Or is that more South Florida? Okay.
Yeah. They spray usually around your house, but if you go out at the wrong time of night, like I went on a bike ride today, trying to shake off that late jet lag. And I went through a couple of, what do you do when the bugs have just birthed or something, and there's like gnats all basting in your face. I'm like, man, this sucks. What kind of bike ride is this?
That was a high protein snack for you.
Up your nose and your mouth out. Right?
Open up. Sunrise or sunset?
Oh man, I love the sun. And that's one thing beautiful about Florida is both the sunrise and sunset. And what's interesting, I took my wife and I, I think it was the year before COVID, for our anniversary. We got up at like 4 a.m. and drove to Cocoa Beach and watched the sunrise. And then we hung out on the beach, and then we had some lunch, and then we drove across the coast to Clearwater and watched the sunset, which is probably the only place in the U.S. that you could do sunrise, sunset on the ocean, right? Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And they were both beautiful, and we documented them. We have like sunrise, sunset on that same day.
Same date.
Yeah.
So I love them both.
Thinking about that, cool. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Maybe Hawaii. I guess Hawaii you could.
Hawaii
right?
you can, yeah.
But I've never.
Continental.
Huh.
Yeah, and way down in Mexico, Baja, California, you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe Baja California.
But it's not. It may not be far enough for that. Yeah. In the U.S., it's true. It's very rare.
Yeah, that's
very
an
cool.
interesting. I'd never thought about that.
Very cool.
Very cool.
It was neat. It was neat. It was my idea. Nobody told me about it. I was like, wow, I actually had a good idea.
What a day, Sid.
Wow.
Nice going. Romantic.
I got the idea at a USPTA convention, but I just can't remember it. So, but I'm going to claim that idea.
It was at the bar after. And
you know what we need to do is we need to set up a trip.
Time.
Set up a trip with Sid the Kid to say, hey, you want to do a sunrise, sunset tour with, Sid Newcomb in beautiful Florida.
We can auction that off for a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we'll see the sunrise, and then we drive back to the national campus if they still let us.
In the middle?
Yeah, in the middle, and then we drive to the sunset.
That's an interesting. Like I said, I had never thought about that, but you're right. That's probably the only place in the continental U.S.
I think we just found a fundraiser to auction off for your hat right now.
Yes.
Hit hustle for that.
Hit hustle, never quit.
Hit hustle, never quit.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's the cause.
For the USPTA Foundation. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, I can actually see CB's bigger,
Right. I got the big, they're out there, the new athlete lid.
AJ's got a cool color, but he's going to have to get the new.
Next week. Next week we'll get the new merch.
We got the new lids coming.
Our new merch drops soon.
Mountains or beach? Are you a mountain guy or beach guy?
Oh, I love snow sports, man. I get so into, ski. I like to ski. I spent two winters snowboarding because all my kids switched, but then I switched back to skiing when they got confident. I just feel so much peace up on the top of a mountain, swishing around. I haven't skied, so that's one of the big things leaving Northern California. We were 3.5 hours to the slopes.
Yeah. To what? Squaw Valley or Heavenly or
Squaw Valley,
Alpine Meadows, one of those.
North Shore, whatever, South Shore, North Shore, Sugar Bowl. But in Florida, obviously, but when I travel, I would try to ski, the front end or the back end of a trip if possible. But it's been a while since I skied, so I miss it a little bit. But I would definitely say, and my wife's the opposite. She likes sun and beach.
Yep.
Yeah, so whenever you're on family vacation, which do you think we go to?
Yeah, hers.
Sun and beach. It's a lot cheaper than taking a family skiing too, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. The beach, you can just go. Let's go swimming. Let's go hang out hey, it's not any fun.
Quick drive.
Here's $2. Go get you an ice cream.
That's it.
Favorite season? Are you a summer guy? Fall, winter, spring? Where you?
I like outdoor sports. Like, you know, people that play indoors like to play indoors. It drives me nuts. I was in Kansas this weekend, and it was so beautiful outside. And they had like 8 indoor courts. I was like, I'd rather play indoors. I'm like, are you kidding me? Let's go outside. So anything outside. So I don't know what season that is. I like all the seasons.
All of
anything outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think you play outside most year round in most places, unless you're in Michigan, Upper Michigan, in the UP
Midwest.
up there. Man, that wouldn't be any fun playing outdoor tennis up there. But I mean, I'm sure that those people do snowmobiling or snowshoeing or
some outside. Do you guys ever play platform tennis? I've never played that.
No, never. I've seen
years.
it.
That was big on the
play
East and the West. Yeah.
Did you
It's
play
a
New York?
winter sport. So that's why I asked when you said that, because it's in the Northeast. It's everywhere now, but it's mostly Northeast, and it's in the winter. And the reason it's on a platform is because they have to heat the court.
Yeah, from below.
To get all the ice and snow off. And these nuts are out there playing in the middle of winter.
And there's like chicken wire, so you play off the walls or fences, kind of. So cool.
Yeah, we have certification. Actually, John Embry loves platform. He played it all the time when he lived in Chicago.
Up in Chicago, yeah, when he was with Wilson.
Did you play it with your dad? Did your dad have any of those courts?
We've tried it, yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah, we've tried it with the heat under it. Actually, Eric Carita up in Chicago grew up with those too.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I've seen it only on YouTube or maybe on a website. I've never.
Really cool game. Really fun game. Hey,
I have played Padel.
That's very similar, right?
Padel's got the glass backboard, so the playing off the walls is similar. Padel's super fun. So we have Padel now on the national campus. There's 4 Padel courts, and I play that.
This guy would be amazing at Padel because he's good off the wall. He's a little off the wall anyway.
Well, I am.
That's
true.
Wall.
We sometimes do these stupid trick shot videos, and I do stuff with my feet or reflex volleys on a wall. Like I broke some record, right? 90 something in 60 seconds. But this guy in Padel, his tennis skills will translate. He'll go to the baseline over there. He will get ready to serve, but instead of serving from the baseline that way, he'll serve against the wall. Oh, sorry. Against the wall. It hits the crap out of the wall. It goes up and into the court, in the box on the first take.
Yeah.
Dude, you gotta love Padel.
He would love it.
They call me one take.
One take,
I don't
Craig.
brag. I just
One take TV, baby.
no, I just got
We
lucky
played
at one
Padel
time.
on an indoor tennis court.
He can, yeah.
No, we've played Padel because there's a local club that has 3 courts down there at T-Bar?
Yep, 3, and they're the beautiful, beautiful artificial grass where I like it because you can slide like it's clay, but it bounces low like it's grass, kind of. And 3 courts, like you said.
Right. Yeah, it's a big sport in España. I think Rafael,
France,
probably
Spain.
Yeah. Does Novak? Do you play Padel, Novak?
On the court as well as off the court, I have great admiration for all the other cousins to our sport of tennis, but I'm not there yet. I've got to concentrate on winning 2 more slams, right?
Yeah. Well, Nick Kyrgios, you probably play Padel, don't you?
Mate, you call yourself a journalist, mate. Piss off. Next question's for Sid.
Sid, what do you like to do in your spare time? If you have a spare time.
Yeah. Well, like I do like winter sports. I haven't been doing that much. I like to golf.
Oh, wow.
I like to golf.
Yeah.
I do like golf. I used to play golf when you're my age. You've had seasons, so I've had seasons where I played a lot of golf.
Oh yeah.
And I like hanging out with my kids, going to my kids' sporting events. That's regular.
They're what, high school and a little older than high school?
Yeah. So I got 3 out of the house, 3 boys. 2 are teaching pros. Mm-hmm. One in Florida, and one's just going to take a job in Asheville, North Carolina. And then my 3rd son works in the library system. They're all grown up, and I have 2 in the house. My 2 daughters. One's a junior in high school, going to be a senior. She plays soccer, and then one's a 7th grader. So I still have 2 kids at home. So that keeps me busy. Oh, I commentate for both Lake Nona High School. I'm the voice of the Lions.
All right.
Lake Nona Lions. And I also I'm the public address announcer at Orlando City Soccer. It's a Major League Soccer professional soccer league. So I do all their home games for both the men and the women, called the Orlando Pride. So I see a ton of good. I love soccer. Like, I see a ton of soccer.
Well, you've got a great voice, and
did you start off and go, "Welcome to beautiful, McLean Stadium,
Exploria Stadium"?
Exploria.
That's such a great. I love it when you do that. I think that's your signature call.
I got to tell you, my favorite was when the kid next to him, he was only about this tall, he did the beautiful. He got the kid to do it. I was like, that is my favorite. I'm putting that up on Instagram.
That kid won the international 12 and under in Turkey or something just like a month ago. He's a baller.
He's a baller, kid. Yeah, you can feel it.
His mom works as a pro here in Orlando at the national campus, and his name's Jordan. He's a good player and a super nice kid. He loves doing the quick tips. Every time I see him, hey, can I do another quick tip? I'm like, okay, whenever he's around.
One day you're just gonna chill and let him say, "This week's quick tip is from and he'll just do it.
Yeah,
it's from my mom.
You say it. Yeah, that's right.
That's
funny.
So, all right, we're gonna round it down into the third set here.
The third set of the third.
Third set of the third, and we're going to bring it back to some tennis questions.
Yeah.
So I know AJ brought in a few tennis questions, but a couple of things. I was listening to what was going on, and I've got a few questions here. First racket that Sid Newcomb owned and had played tennis with. What was your first racket, just out of curiosity?
It was definitely a wood racket. I think it was just a Spalding or... It didn't have a brand on it because my dad had a Wilson Jack Kramer that I thought was super cool. And I had a Spalding that was kind of green. It had a triangle on it. And then I don't remember if it had a name on it or not.
You still have it?
No, don't have it.
No.
I do have a wood racket.
Somewhere?
One of my high school teams gave me a wood racket with all their names on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the high school girls teams I coached years ago.
What's your
racket?
What's your racket of choice today?
Yeah, what are you hitting with right now?
Yeah.
Hey, man, Wilson's number one in tennis, right? Wilson. Whatever Wilson racket they say, hey, use this whenever you're doing something.
Is it the Clash?
I actually still try to play. I still try to play like once a week with Embry and some guys on campus.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I think I play with a Clash or a Blade.
Yeah.
One of the Wilsons. I'm so inept. Just give me a racket.
Yeah.
I'm hope to hit it back.
What kind of string are you? Are you a poly guy? Are you a multi guy? Or
I think I still use a hybrid, maybe a Luxalong with some synthetic crosses or something. My second son, who's also a USPTA pro. His main part of his job he's at a nice country club is he's a pro shop manager and the stringer, and he knows everything about strings and all. And my whole thing, I'm like, I just put something on there. Of course, when I could play better, I'd be like, oh, I need this at this tension. But nowadays, I don't care. Just as long as the string's not broken. The whole issue is me getting to the ball anyway. I don't care what the string's like. But he's way into strings, and I know it's come a long way from back in the day, right?
Hey, you're the director of certification. Have you encouraged him to get USRSA certified as a master racket technician like this guy?
Yeah. Oh, you're a USRS. Yeah. He started learning stringing at the national campus. It's called the Racket Bar, so they string a ton of rackets.
Oh, cool.
And he knows there is a certification there, and I don't know if we're proponents of the USRSA.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more to stringing rackets. But to be honest, most tennis directors or head pros train another pro how to string their way, and they just know how to string.
True.
But there's a lot more to it, especially if you want to get good at it. So I think the USRSA has a big place in our industry.
Yeah, he certified me.
I certified him as a master racket technician.
Oh, so you're both USRSA.
We're both geeks.
There's only a few of you around, right, to actually do it. I think there's one somewhere in Florida he could do it.
Yeah,
Some
and
guy-
the guy who certified me or tested
Who
me
was that?
was John Google, and he moved to Winter Park, Florida, to open a shop. And he had owned a racket company years back. I think it was called Ellipse or Eclipse, something like that. He made the Wimbledon racket with the purple and green and the actual. Remember the old Wimbledon logo, the W. And I remember when we were done with the test, he said, hey, so I'm moving to Florida. I want you to be the next tester. I said, look, you don't even know if I passed. He's like, I think you passed. You're going to know in 2 weeks, and I'll call you and get you on. So that was like 1990, whatever, and I'm still the tester. Or racket technician developer is what I'm going to try to change it to.
There you go, developer. So I think my son would be, because he really loves stringing rackets.
He does.
Not everybody loves it, so
Yeah.
he should get into that and also maybe become training other people like you do.
Good. Go see John Google in Winter Park.
Yeah.
He's probably retired by now.
Does he have a website named Google? You can Google him.
Google him.
I just
You had to. You had to.
I just
That was a
it was
cool-
sitting there on the tee.
Improv.
Sid. You know,
Look at the improv.
you got to hit these things. You know, Andy.
I was thinking something like that, but I'm like, dude, don't break out a dad joke. That's
Yeah. That was.
No, I do that all the time.
Let Craig do that.
Yeah. Andy Murray, do you Google?
I mean, yeah, it's great. I Google myself all the time. It's pretty much all.
See, sorry, Sid. We already went down that rabbit hole, so I just was in it all the way. So sorry about that. So
How's it going?
Well, we made Sid laugh 3-4 times tonight. I'm out. That was perfect. That was great.
Well, speaking of laughing, what's your most embarrassing moment in tennis? Have you had a couple of occasions? Did you slip on the clay? Where you were playing in Chile, or is there anything that you recall that?
Well, I shared this with the group last week. I always share some of my fails, so I figure they can relate to it.
Oh, vulnerable.
One of the
Yeah.
most embarrassing, when I was a young pro and I didn't really have a passion for what I was doing. It's embarrassing now looking back at it. And I remember like the last hour of the day, which was so rough. You're out on the court just grinding away. And I would just live for, this is really embarrassing.
Oh no.
I would live for the ball pickup. So we could pick up the balls and I could get a drink of water. And so I'd feed balls and then I'd grab balls in the basket and throw them to the back of the fence so that the balls would empty quicker out of the basket. Oh my God. I think that's the most pathetic professional. So that's embarrassing looking back at where my brain was at that time. And then one embarrassing tennis playing, I was playing in Grand Rapids, Michigan at a sectional. And I remember the look of this kid. I don't remember his name, but I called a ball out. And he said, that was not out. I said, yeah, man, it was out. And he raced over to my side, and he was coming at me, and I was running. And so it was like freaking Tom and Jerry. I was running around. I was running around the net. This guy just chasing me, wanted to kick my ass, and I'm running around. And that was pretty embarrassing because other people were watching it. I'm like, well, it was out. It was out. I'm just like, don't hit me. I was a little kid back then too. I was like in 14s, and I was really small. I was scared to get beat up, but it was out. To this day, I promise you, I wouldn't.
I'm sure.
Those are my two embarrassing ones.
I'm sure Yakety Sax was playing, and Benny Hill. Another dad joke. Sorry, I said we went down this rabbit hole.
That was not just a dad joke. That was a Benny Hill reference.
Yeah, that was
that was good. That was good.
What's your favorite tournament? And it can be, one like you played in college. It can be one you visited. What's your favorite tournament and why?
I think my favorite current tournament, well, heck, I don't know, man. I love going to tennis tournaments. It was always Palm Springs or Indian Wells until I've been to Cincinnati for a few times. Now I love Cincinnati. They kind of the same reason. A little bit smaller. Who doesn't like going to a major tournament?
Of course.
I love it. But Cincinnati and Indian Wells, a little bit smaller, a little bit more access to watch practice and And I love college tennis. So I love watching the national tournament. I love the energy of college tennis. So NCAA nationals, or even the conference tournaments. So I've been to great conference tournaments. My son played college tennis. The Pac West was in Surprise, Arizona, and just the energy. The kids they're just killing themselves for no money and not a lot of people watching. They're just doing it for their team.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more pure than that? That just fires you up.
That is the best. I love that too.
Yeah. So I love college tennis.
Do you go over to the campus sometimes? Do you ever?
Yeah.
Because I know UCF plays over there, and occasionally catch on what's going on over there every now and then.
Yeah. Make cheap date, free evening. I watch as much tennis as I can. I still love it. I love. You know what I like? That there was the International Wheelchair Championship.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we got competitors. What competitors and what unbelievable athletes. They have Western grip for their forehand,
and then
the high backhand, they just Western grip, just rip the crap out of me. Just doing that, it hit my arm. Just do that just now. These guys are incredible athletes.
Yeah. We had a couple of them on. Yeah, we've had some wheelchair stars on our show.
Oh, man, there's something else.
Yeah. No, I mean, Wayne Levitt is awesome. He was the Texas Tennis Hall of Famer last year, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. We had him on a couple of months ago. It was a really interesting story because he was an able-bodied person till about late teen years and had an accident. And had a really severe accident, and but he played with all the great players, Randy Snow, he's a really fascinating guy. We
had one who played against Dylan Alcott, the great Australian wheelchair champion, and that was Paul Walker, who interestingly he's in a wheelchair, competes as a wheelchair tennis player, professional, coached able-bodied women's tennis on a college team
in Florida.
Wow.
Somewhere
that's
in Florida.
Cool.
That's really amazing. Yeah,
that's right. I forgot. Yeah, Paul Walker. That was about a year before that. So that was one of our first podcasts probably in the early stages of about number 30, 40, somewhere in there.
Sounds right.
Yeah. He was an interesting guy as well. So and I guess didn't they just have the wheelchair championships down at Lake Nona? Was that recently?
That's what made me think of it. I get to watch. I mean, that's one of the blessings of moving here is that it's just such a tennis-centric environment. And there's always tennis and there's always events on. And, if you're a junkie like me and like you guys, you just any given weekend, like, let's go watch some good tennis.
Love it.
Well, I think that center's so – I mean, I like that center. And I've been down several times to visit, USPTA and been invited there, through the executive committee. I just love going over there and just like what Sid says, you soak up, the environment. So people are just so happy and they're excited to be there and they're taking pictures out in front of the campus. And I think that's probably one of the greatest places. It's kind of like Disneyland on steroids for a tennis player.
On lemon waters.
On lemon waters. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it's just fun. I was
exactly what my son said. Sorry, CB.
No, go ahead.
The first time we went to a college match day, and so it was Michigan versus Ohio State.
Oh, wow.
And it was live on Tennis Channel. And they had this carnival atmosphere, and they had like picture booths and giant Jenga, all this kid stuff. And my son is his first one going. He's like, Dad, this is like just what CB said. He's like, this is Disneyland for tennis people. It's like, it's super energy. My dad came. I actually flew him out the day of. So one of the college match days this year was Army Air Force. And so I was like, Dad, hey, you got to come to this thing. It's unbelievable. And so he lives in Austin, go horns. And he flew out the morning of, and we went to the match, and he didn't know what to expect, but it was men and women at the same time, 2,100 people on each side of the 6-6 and the national anthem and the fireworks go off. It's like a you feel like tennis is the biggest sport in the world when you're in one of those. We know we're just, thankfully they're growing now, but in recent years we've just kind of been hanging on. But when you're around here, sometimes you're like, wow, this is it. It was like SEC football or something.
Yeah.
I just see people's faces every time. I just kind of look, I like to study, and just people are so excited to be at that campus who are tennis players.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, just people taking pictures out in front. Hey, can you take a picture for me? You see people doing that all the time. That's why I think
cool.
the great part about that facility, and I'm sure Sid's there every day and sees that. The joy in people's faces as they go, oh my gosh, look at this place, and you just keep walking around and all 100 courts. How many courts are there? 100?
100 courts, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, and then, just to see, and an alligator. There's an alligator in that pond, isn't there?
Yeah, they've removed some, but they always come back. There's the thing about ponds in Florida. They always seem to end up with alligators in them.
Well, maybe they're crocodiles, like Lacoste. They like tennis as well, right? So they just want to come back, hang around down there. So, do you like to watch tennis on TV? Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I saw a little tennis this week.
Oh yeah.
I was pulling for Coco. She was a little tight for the first 5 games, but I think she'll get one and get rolling. But I'm glad that she loosened up a little bit, won some games.
And loosened up in the doubles, won the first set at least.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
good. That was good.
Yeah.
I was looking up. I was like, surely they'll beat these people. And then I looked because I didn't recognize them. And then I looked at one girl.
Yeah.
She has like 24 doubles titles.
That's Kiki Mladenovic, and then the other one's Caroline Garcia, who's not too shabby also.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, these are serious doubles experts. So not shabby to make the finals and get a set off them.
Yeah.
The greatest gap in the front teeth in the history of tennis.
Kiki
Mladenovic. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, and AJ started reeling off like Yannick Noah.
All my favorites with gaps. I called it I like funk music also, so I called it the Gap Band.
Yeah.
I want David Letterman commentating, Yannick Noah and Kiki playing the tennis. And maybe Elton John singing the music next to it. All good gappers.
The passion gap, baby.
Yeah.
So when you were playing tennis, did you have any superstitions or rituals? Did you not step on the lines? Did you turn your water bottles a certain way?
No, I didn't. Nadal's into that, isn't he?
A little bit.
I tried to do, when I was at Bollettieri's, is the first time I heard anything about, I went as already finished playing, like I told you as a coach. Yeah. First time I heard anything about mental toughness. And Dr. Lear was into just starting all his stuff, and he was into the 16-second cure.
Yeah, Jim Lear.
Yeah, in between points. So I guess I tried to do some of that stuff, but I was already done playing at that point. So I coached it. I coached, hey, this is what you can do in between points. Instead of being superstitious, you can, do these 4 steps in 5-second increments. Yeah. I don't know how it worked, but no superstitions.
So what sport would you have played if it wasn't for tennis? What would you?
I think it's on its T-shirt. What do you think?
Basketball?
I love to play basketball.
He's a hooper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great game. And I play golf. I mean, I still play some sports, but I don't know what I could have been good at. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, was I reading somewhere? Did you play basketball at John Brown also too in tennis?
Yeah, I did.
Did you really? Tell us about that.
Bonus of transferring from Michigan State is I played high school basketball. And we were a small school, but we made it to the Class D Michigan State finals, and we had quite a run. And that was one of my great team experiences. And then so then at John Brown, I walked on the basketball team. First the coach says you can't do it, and then I was like, well, let's talk about this with the AD, because I had a tennis scholarship. You can't jeopardize your tennis scholarship. But they were then, so I got to play 2 years of the 4 years I was at John Brown. I played basketball.
Were you in the famous toilet paper game? Did you score the first point?
How did you know that?
Wow,
this guy is so educated.
Unbelievable.
Have you seen that? Have you seen a video of that?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
it was
AJ? Unbelievable. You got to check this out. It's the first point of the first home game, right?
First point of the first home game of the season. And when I was there, because this is a pretty strict Christian school, they were so we were only 5 years into it. So my first year was 85. I think it started in 80 or 79. And they were still trying to squash it. Mm-hmm. And so they would be like, hey, you guys don't buy, because everybody steal all the toilet paper out of the dorms. And so then they would put this ban on toilet paper. So if everybody went to Walmart, buy all the toilet paper. So finally, they've embraced it. Now it's become a cultural icon. So the first point of the season, everybody in the stands just, have to stop the game. They team up the team, and they. Right. But it's like a signature thing.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Besides being known as the Ivy League of small Christian colleges in the South, it's known for the toilet paper game.
Right. Stuart Scott on ESPN had a roll of toilet paper. I was watching, and he pushed it off the table. And it was funny.
What a great moment!
Oh yeah, no, I knew that would get Sid up and going. So
I'm so stoked.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's
go, Eagles, baby.
So did you go? Did you ever throw any toilet paper? Did you go back and watch
toilet paper? And then my senior year, I was on the court when the toilet paper came down. Yeah, it's great. Great deal.
So how long did it take to clean that up? Maybe 10 minutes? Did they? I mean, there was a lot of toilet paper.
Technical. Yeah, right. It's technical. But now it's just like a thing. So they have like all the, they go out and everybody, like 30 people, like a bunch of people run out and shoot, But when I was back there, they'd be like, what do we do now? I was like, well, 2 people start picking it up and then everybody starts helping out. It was all planned out.
It was interesting how that started. I was reading about that, and I'm sure that Sid knows it. It was not the coach was really mad at another team for doing something like that, and was kind of and the referee didn't really call a technical. I think if I remember correctly, and then he goes, well, the heck with that. He goes, we're just going to throw some toilet paper on our own, and then it became this phenomenon that USA Today reported on ESPN. Yeah. It's interesting. I saw that. I was like, whoa. And then
that's it.
Yeah, funny stuff. So Sid was a part of this legendary routines that goes on every year, right? Is that correct?
Every year. It's been going for a while.
Yeah.
And it became a recruiting tool. And so when I played there, we were bad. I mean, that's why I played but they've since won the NAI national title. Yep. I mean, people have because who wants to go to Northwest Arkansas to a small school? It's not like there's a beach or, it's a dry county. It's not like you're going to go party there, But they, that's like, I want to go be a part of that toilet paper game. They've got some good ball players coming up.
Well, also said that I think one of the players said that they were nervous because the fans get mad because they want to see a shot, that first point, and I think they had to run up and down the court about 3 or 4 times. And the fans were booing whatever year that was. They were kind of like, "Hey, come on, let's score some points."
That's probably our year. It probably took us till the second half to make a basket.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is pretty funny, but I'd never heard about that. But I thought I like to do a little research. I do some background work.
Well done, buddy.
But the toilet paper game, the TP game,
that's right.
I used to TP a few houses. They call it something else around here, but we used to toilet paper houses. I think that probably you guys might not have ever done that. I'm sure that you guys are nice guys that Christian young men that never were involved in those kind of things. So
that's the only thing we're allowed to do, man.
Yeah, it's good, clean fun.
That was good, innocent fun. There was no women or booze or drugs. It's just toilet paper. Okay, you can do that.
You can do that. You can TP some house right there. All right, last couple questions, Sid, because we know we've got you for 2.5 hours right now. What would you be doing if you weren't involved in sports? What do you think you'd be doing right now?
Oh my gosh, I'd probably be a bum. I don't know,
He'd be on the street going like this,
Yeah, but I don't know. I have done only thing I've ever had interest in is sports. I mean, not only thing, but that's been the driving factor ever since I can remember. Any sports, I'll watch anything. When we moved to England, we literally had 4 channels on our TV. Because they were so far, they're like 50 years behind the U.S. back then. And I'd watch darts, I'd watch lawn bowls, because that was the whatever the English stuff was put on there. I'm an expert at cricket. Ask me about cricket. I love cricket. Uh-huh. 1-day matches, 5-day test matches. I'm a wicket keeper, whatever. One thing I really haven't enjoyed watching is horse polo. For some reason, what sport do you not like watching? I don't know. The horse polo, I think. I don't mind horse racing. Kind of jacks you up. Like, let's go. But horse polo now. But Olympic sports, I love curling.
Yeah.
And then I'm weird, man. I just like watch anything. I wouldn't know what I'd do without sports TV. I'd ask the good Lord to take me home.
You might be working at Dancing Fashions back in the mall with Mike Damone walking by.
I'd learn more about sizing bras and stuff.
All right, last question. All right, last question, because this is
a little more serious.
This is a serious one. This will make you think. All right, so you're the Great Game Commissioner, and you can do anything you want with the Great Game, or maybe not. Would there be any changes, anything that you might do to the Great Game? And it can be from college, sports to amateur to USPTAs. We've gone all over the place with this question. So you're the commissioner of the Great Game. What does Sid Newcomb, the Great Commissioner, do with the game? Leave it the way it is, or what do you think?
Wow, there's a lot of good stuff about it now. Well, I know what I'd do. I'd incorporate the world tennis number.
It's on the agenda. It's on the agenda.
Totally facetious. Yeah. Hey, in Kansas City, they're still doing 10-cap leagues.
I remember 10-cap from the 90s. Yeah.
10-cap?
Yes.
I mean, all the ladies that were taking the free lessons, they were talking about 10-cap. Yeah, I play on a 10-cap. I'm like, man, I thought that was a one and done. I thought that was a 2-year thing. Oh, I don't know what I'd do. Yeah, that's above my pay grade again. I'm more of a I love how it is now. I don't mind the changes. I don't want to shorten it too much where you could be a great ball striker and not be fit. I think fitness is cool. So I like 1-day formats for club level, quick fast fours and tiebreak tournaments. But on the competitive level, I don't want to shorten it too much. I don't think the change of making a third set tiebreaker for doubles has been too bad, because it seems like the results are pretty similar who wins those matches. College tennis, I mean, it's only one set for doubles, but it's hard to get people to watch college tennis anyway.
Yeah, I
don't know, man. That's a great question. If I was a commissioner, I would surround myself with. I'd start with smart people like Craig Bell and AJ Sabria. I'd form a committee and say, what do we need to but that's probably what people are doing now. So I don't have any big, huge changes.
Yeah, you like it the way it is. So basically, there's been a lot of good adjustments over the years, and I think that even like Patrick Mortoglu, how do you say that?
Moratoglu.
Whatever his thing that he had going on there for a while, that had was it 4 quarters or something like that? What was the name?
Yeah, they did time quarters.
Time.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
During COVID, right?
Yeah. They called it Ultimate Tennis Showdown.
That's it.
The UTS.
UTS. It seemed okay, but it didn't last long.
Yeah. No, I like kind of moving it around just to see what goes on.
On the recreational level, like as a tennis director at a club, I think having multiple formats is always a win, because those people are out there for recreation and short events anyway. So doing the same thing over and over, anything you can add new stuff to spice it up. I think so. Formats, I like short formats. I just don't think changing it on the higher levels,
the top, yeah,
because then you can be fat and out of shape and still win a 2 out of 3 fast four. I don't think that's fair. I don't know.
I like the 3 out of 5. I think it, especially at the slams. I think that or even Davis Cup. I get a little irritated with Davis Cup sometimes with what they're doing, but because I like the old format where you went to a country and played at the country.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah. And
I don't know what's happening in Davis Cup now. Yeah. They show up and play a tournament, and U.S. loses, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's like a yawn. It's like
we need to annex Canada, to win the Davis Cup again.
To get their players. Hey, come on back.
We need Felix and Dennis on our team. Right. No, I shouldn't say that. We got Taylor, Francis. Yeah. We got a good team.
We got a pretty good team. But, Big John, Riley.
Oh boy, big.
Yeah. No, I like the Laver Cup. I'm a fan of that. I heard Roger's going to come back and play. That's his first match back.
Laver Cup and Basel.
Right.
I was, of course, hoping he'd play Wimbledon, but he's not there.
You're ready, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was just announced, I think. Did McEnroe say that, I think, on TV today? I think he was commenting and said that I think Roger's coming back for his own tournament.
Yeah.
That's his first one.
Laver Cup Basel and no Rafa at Wimbledon, sadly.
Right, yeah. So that's...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He already announced he's not playing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Rafa said that, and couldn't figure out what the reason was. I haven't seen that, but it showed up on, not TikTok, but Instagram. I am on Instagram, so I do follow a lot of that. And I screenshotted something, and then AJ probably looked at it a little bit more in depth. But I think I don't know if he's a fan of the exhibition format kind of.
Meaning the no points.
No points, Or, because, I mean, the guy's got his
tricky situation,
or his foot. Yeah, I don't know if it's his foot.
I hope it's not political, and I do think, he just won this. It was a massive mountain to climb.
Oh my goodness!
And to go over and play a warm up or two, which he typically does not do before Wimbledon, and then hopefully be successful at Wimbledon. I think he's like, look, I need the rest.
Doesn't he have the calendar Grand Slam is still in play?
Isn't that funny? Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
It's like, what are you talking about? And Fed's not going to be there. I mean, go win the calendar Grand Slam. I mean, then you just like solidify you as the GOAT. I mean, you'll have 20. So what's he have now? 22.
22. Yeah.
So if he won the calendar, he have 24. Those other guys may not catch him on fourth. Roger won't get 24, maybe Joker, but I mean, if he could get to 24 and have a calendar Grand Slam,
then he's next to Laver or above Laver. You could maybe say.
Yeah, that's it. I'm disappointed. I mean, I like Roger. He's my favorite. Rafa's right there. He's closing in on favorite also too. I just like he's such a nice person when he's gracious, in his speeches, and he just makes everybody feel good. Doesn't say anything wrong. Doesn't do anything wrong. You never hear him in too much controversy, and that's
right.
You can't always say that about the current number one. Sometimes, but Roger's like that too. That's why I always liked Roger.
That's why I like Roger and Sampras. Yeah, he's just legit. Like how when Zverev turned his ankle, he was just he really felt for the guy. He wasn't, I mean, sure, he's glad he moved on, but you could tell he was really, he's just a guy. He's like someone you want to be a friend with. Like any of your friends are just like loyal to a T. He would be that guy, so he's cool.
He gets it. So, well, Sid the Kid, we're going to let you go.
Guys.
We know it's closing in on the midnight hour down in the beautiful Orlando area.
All right, baby. Hey, enjoyed the time, AJ.
No, thank you.
You guys rock.
You are the best. Sid, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Have a great night, and we'll keep in touch.
Right.
And folks at home, share this. This was a unique, remarkable conversation with a remarkable guy. Sid, thank you.
And we're going to get you a lid in the John Brown colors, the Golden Eagles.
Oh, you rock.
Get you some Golden Eagles for At the Net podcast. So, Sid, take care. Thanks a lot. Go practice your 5 strings, your 5 notes.
5 chords.
5 chord Sid. Yeah. So we'll see you later. Have a good night. Thank you. Well, that was a great conversation with the kid.
Dude.
Oh my
fun.
Goodness, that was exciting, entertaining, electric.
It really was. Really fun. The guy's hilarious.
Oh, I knew he'd be a good guest on the podcast, and he didn't disappoint.
Not at all, and you didn't either. You brought that toilet paper thing. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I had a few little tidbits there that I looked up and wanted to impress the crowd. Right, you always gotta bring that A game. Sometimes.
Nice going. So, proud of you, man. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So let's see. We exit with little Jimmy right here. Let's see if we'll get this moving on here. It should be coming up. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 119 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be talking with tennis professional extraordinaire Jorge Capestany.
Capestany's amazing. And also join us Wednesday night, too.
We have Sarah Flood. We actually have...
That's right. Yes. We have a guest this week on Wednesday.
Wednesday night on tennis shorts, So, and AJ always likes to ask what's in my tennis...
What's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts?
Big zero. Nothing. Except for this week we have Sarah Flood, so this is going to be fun talking with Sarah.
She is a remarkable tennis professional, originally from Great Britain, but also plays pro pickleball now.
Yes,
We'll
right.
have a good time with her.
So Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, right?
Yep.
On the gram.
8 o'clock Central, which is where Sarah is and we are. 9 on the East Coast.
Yep. And that's at the Net Talk Show, right?
Talk Show on Instagram. You got to join us for that.
And lastly, be sure to like and follow us on this medium called Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and other social media outlets. Because we like to build the following. We have a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers, but we can always have more, right?
Go ahead, hit it. Like, subscribe, share it, and tell your friends about it.
Right, and because we want everybody to be at the Net Podcast Netheads, right?
Yes.
All right, so, well, everybody, thanks a lot. We appreciate you watching tonight, and if you're watching again on a recorded session, so we appreciate those listeners and viewers as well. So that's the tennis news as it seems to us. Good night, everybody from Dallas, Texas.
Good night, everybody.